They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. Eat the cat. 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 Eat the cat.
There have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused.
Eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. Eat the cat. 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 Eat the cat.
The Springfield, Ohio Police Department has debunked this very bizarre and very hateful.
The cat. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
We rate this on the CBS confirmed team.
They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. Eat the cat.
In the county.
Eat the cat. 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 They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs.
No eating dog, you cats.
Eat the cat. 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 They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat.
Become a member at freedomtunes.com for exclusive cartoons.
Oh boy, love that. Love that.
That's stuck in my head, man. That's a worm, an earworm, if there ever was one.
I fucking love Freedom Tunes. They're great. Welcome back, people. We're live, and Rookie's kind of in charge of this one.
A little bit. Before we get into hibbity jibbities here and there and stuff, I got a couple comic books that have arrived recently. Natverse. I forget who
Sim
does them here. Sim, yes. Nice. This was of the batch that was like recommend comics. All right, and I didn't really look at who was who.
Oh, you got both of them.
I got my super plumbers.
You should tweet that out to Renowned Zero, old Sturgy.
And then this as well.
Oh, that's the same guy that does the plumber girls.
Yep, I got these. There's like a double whammy, triple blammy. So here we go.
Sorry,
that is all.
Tiggity tags. Yeah, so funny stuff. I informed you, right? Or was it you? No, I think I informed you. I'm like, oh no, Jerry and Nina are fighting.
Yeah, you mentioned it, and then I was like taking more of a look at it.
Then you're like, oh boy, Star Wars girl joined it. Oh, that stupid cut. Oh man, the grifters they're attacking each other. Your boy Hack, that piece of shit, trying to rejuvenate his channel or something. I don't know, diversify. He's going after his co-writer or whatever the fuck he did with Critical Drinker, which is funny, but it's like it's kind of weird that he's already been doing this for years. You work with him, and now you want to go after him because a lot of people are like, he just hates that he didn't like Furiosa, which is retarded. That you saw the videos, they're like, oh yeah, there's like nothing wrong with it, but it's girl boss somehow still, like
right.
Which it was like safe to say because it didn't have the market appeal because it's like 10 years after Fury Road they've made this, so it's not like a market of Mad Max is already like kind of a niche franchise. Fury Road was like a surprise, like what? And Furious is good though. That has more problems than Fury Road's like perfect, but Furious is a really good prequel to that. But yeah. So I guess we should just get right to it and christen the stream.
Well, I mean, before we christen the stream, hold on, let me pull up this thing right here. I'll show you. So okay. We actually didn't cover the Acolyte very much. We briefly talked about it here and there. Sometimes didn't really go into it this time. There's no business to really. But and the chick like made some videos, going after fans, did a shitty rap thing and whatever. But she released a little photo
I don't know if we should show that. I don't know if that's legal for YouTube.
Legal for YouTube. I don't know. I feel like it's covered enough. Her dress is like a filter. You can sort of see, but
show the
it's not...
Shadiversity one because he put the bar.
Is
on
he
it.
topless?
Oh God, kill me.
Yeah, his dress. Yeah.
He should wear one. He's a sissy girl.
I figured I'd come on here and distract you from your actual topic again.
We are just free balling. I don't have like anything planned today. Like I'm kind of doing biggest problem style today, where I'm gonna make the.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Oh no, I'm gonna make the thumbnail and the title more honed in tomorrow after we've streamed. I can like think on it because usually I'm trying to like craft either a being prompt on AI or hodgepodging pictures together for a thumbnail. But yeah, this one's like I got an idea of like Nerdrotic breaking like an elf toy or maybe like a fat swordsman in a dress.
A horseman.
Swordsman. That's cool. We could combine Shad and the horseman. Yeah, we can have, because Dean Cain is the voice for animation, so we'll have Shad as the actual physical live action actor.
Sure.
I like this idea.
Yeah, could work.
What's up with you, Dan?
Totally.
Man, I'm just straight chilling. I was gonna make a video response to Short Fat Otaku. He posted a video talking about basically how all art is political. He flip flopped, and
I think I follow that guy. He's saying that.
Yeah, he just released it today, and I usually don't keep up with this stuff all that much, but that popped up, and I watched it, and I was like, okay, well,
I really don't like
kind
his
of dumb.
voice, but some of his videos, I'm like, oh, that's all right. But I
He
think I
talks
unsubbed
very
from,
quickly.
I didn't think I'm unsub from him. I was subbed for a while, but then it's just like, what is this guy making? Like, what is this? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not gonna derail with it, but I was gonna do that tonight, and I saw your message, like, oh, I'd rather hang out, and I'll I'll do that thing later.
Tell me all about it. Honestly, I have no idea.
Well,
I've been seeing you posting. You've been getting feedback, which is cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this?
Before we do that, though, we should probably christen the stream.
Yeah, you got to drink candy.
Do your thing.
You got to drink.
I got
candy,
my water. I got my water, baby.
I have green tea with peppermint.
I don't think that's a gay drink.
It's not. Mint is very manly. Here we go. Time for the
horn of ceremony.
And we christen the stream.
Oh man, Rook's still rocking the coke. Good job for you, man.
Yep, cocaine water. Yep.
Hell yeah, I transitioned from the inferior cola.
Dean Cain water.
The inferior cola. He likes that.
Coke is much better.
No, I'll drink Pepsi. First of all, if it's all they have and Coke's gone, and or if it's like later in the day, the Pepsi's like softer. It's like if I want to listen to some yacht rock instead of like Amon Amarth, that's what Pepsi is equivalent.
Nice
to.
Amon Amarth drop.
And yeah, so it's like a pussy water. Did Coke burn Michael Jackson and put him in the hospital? No, Pepsi did that.
You should market something called pussy water.
Coke's getting kicked out of Subway and replaced by Pepsi.
And Subway is going to tank the way of Quiznos.
They're already tanking before that, okay?
Subway only tolerates
Pepsi.
They're already
Subway only tolerates pedophiles, not Coke.
No, just the one pedophile. Okay.
They should do a deal with Dr. Disrespect. That'll really help them with the.
There was a fake Subway, or there was like a fake ad.
Yeah, that was Vito's.
I'm gonna be honest, man. I had no idea who Dr. Disrespect was till like all that drama stuff, and I still don't know. I guess he was. A Twitch guy.
Shit.
He's just somebody that was referenced by people sometimes. I'm like, I don't know. Don't care.
I got nothing against the dude. It's like I don't know who this is.
No, what happened? It's funny is like Nerdrotic, all these fuckers, these zeros, and the Fellowship, Frank Tights, F slurs. They love Dr. Disrespect. He's like a big indie name. He has been sort of light conservative with like saying something about trans shit or kids or something. But then it turns out, we find out it gets leaked, whatever his secret deal with Twitch was. because he got Chris Hansen by them. They like used like a decoy miner. It might have been like a technicality kind of thing. It might have been even like, well, it's actually legal in that state at that age, but it's like, well,
so
the general
weird,
public
yeah.
just instantly knee jerks if it's under 18, and you have been caught. And now he's just, it's funny because he tweeted us like, oh yeah, I just reapplied for monetization, YouTube, let's go. And it's like, it's funny because he tweeted out when this all broke, he's like, said something about like minor or something. He's going this long explanation, but then he like edited it and someone caught him. And it's like, why are you editing minor out of your thing now that like time has passed? You're trying to like sweep in, you know. So it's like, yeah, it might have been also he got exposed for like jerking it to a trans model, like having interactions with her on Twitter or whatever. Even though he like pandered, and all conservative people were like, this is worse than the kid thing. And it's like, y'all are cracked in the head. Like,
I can't keep up with it. I can't keep up with people being mad all the damn time. I'm mad all the time. I can't keep up with other people being
right.
You know, it's funny. I meant to post it. I screenshotted like yesterday Ryan Cannell's feed, the last like 5 uploads. It's like Ryan Cannell, RK Outpost. He's like a Geeks and Gamers retard. He used to be like, hey guys, like Star Wars kind of sucks now, but I love the EU. We can enjoy the EU. Like that was he was like Mr. Rogers it was a weird pairing with Jeremy, but then he like went aggro and started making money. So he's just like always mad, always making like thumbnails where it's like, we're fucked, they hate you. You know, it's like, what the how do you get excited? Oh boy! And like I used to get excited with Geeks and Gamers, Jeremy. If like bullshitters, I watch their stream, then I'm like, oh boy, Jeremy's got a new video. Hot diggity damn, because it's like filler in between like high council content, which is EVS, bullshitters, and Jeremy. And but yeah, at some point he just turned and started just being like, oh boy, they hung out with the quartering. That's what happened. The quartering taught him like, hey, you get 3 updates, you get 3 notifications a day for uploads, so use them, milk it. And that's like when everything changed, when they started hanging out with quartering.
That's weird. I know who Geeks and Gamers are. I don't know their names. I knew Shad because I watched his like TLJ breakdown of the fight scene like when it happened. And I really knew Mauler. Like I really liked Mauler.
Yeah, Mauler's good.
Yeah, because I liked his Star Wars stuff. And he's just funny. He's like, he sounds like this, you know, in America, if you have a British accent like that, we ascribe like 20 more IQ points to you.
Well, he doesn't spam videos every day either. He doesn't.
Yeah, he takes his
hop
time
on pop culture stuff.
Yeah, he seems like he's actually trying to be.
If it were 20 years ago, he would just be like that guy sitting alone in the theater watching a movie nobody cares about.
Yep, he'd be like, oh, all right.
Yeah, more power to him.
Well, like he blew up because apparently like he just was really mad at like a certain game, so he did like a really long breakdown of why it's bad or wrong.
Dark Souls
or something.
2, I think.
Yeah. And so then it like took off. So then he started. Yeah, it was just like organic. I like Robot Head too, even though like he's got a spin. He's kind of saying narrative shit for this sector. He seems like he doesn't try to milk the upload shit and get, you know, every view every day all the time, you know, off of the dumbest shit. He crafts videos, and he's humorous, and he interjects like, you know, Star Wars stuff. So he's funny. Like I like that. It's not necessarily the narrative necessarily, although it's obvious when you're pandering, which I kind of figured out early on. I figured out way before everybody else. Before Trash, Rookie, 2019. I'm like, hey, I think Doomcock's a grifter.
Well, yeah, when it's like some of them have more memorable videos than others, I guess. Like I think Robot Head had the lightsaber video.
Yeah, about Disney doesn't know how the lightsabers work.
Yeah, videos like that.
That's the thing is like a lot of people, I think, like I know with like Shad, people got mad, I think, because he had stupid opinions on AI art.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one. That
yeah,
he
and
would
like
not back down that hill.
He kind of, I guess, probably should have stayed in his lane. Like, I guess he knew Hema. I mean, that was like his whole thing, or at least the guys around him did. And he had a good personality, I thought. For he seemed kind of like jovial. You know what I mean? He had that kind of
mostly
wholesome
focusing
kind of
on
vibe.
on weapons history, pretty much.
Yeah, and I learned stuff. Whether it's true or not, I thought like some of the stuff he would do was cool. When he like found some obscure weapon I'd never heard of, you
He
know.
a lot of effort to try to demonstrate and show it. It wasn't just blandly talking about it. He's outside. You can tell he's using a lot to do these videos, and who knows how he does to get whatever thing's right. So a lot of effort there.
But then,
I was
like,
disappointed because he had another channel where he was using his land and like building like a castle or something. He was building some stuff, and there's like some cool things being added, cool concepts being there.
Yeah.
Even like cute videos where like his kids are helping to plant trees or something, and like little like a zip line thing that his dad built or something. It's like, oh, those are awesome. But then I think this got taken down, and now he's like putting clipped videos of his Night's Watch channel there.
Believe me, I get not wanting to work a day job ever again, but it's like if you're not like punk with stuff, man, you gotta just quit. Like that's what attracted me to like y'all's channel. Like the first time you guys had us on, I was like, oh, like Angus is punk. So like
that's funny because I hate punk music, but
yeah, but the attitude, you know what I mean.
But it's like
DC's punk, man. Come on.
If anything, though, I mean,
AC/DC
they can maybe
is the spirit of rock and roll.
Yeah.
Part of it's like the way I feel, the way that a lot of people seem to try to make money on YouTube is like, well, I understand wanting YouTube to be the career or be the platform where you sell the majority of your stuff or whatever, but having a normal job to help make the money isn't bad either.
Yeah,
at least for a while. Actually, like if you can have a steady paycheck and continue some of your
paychecks,
lower your YouTube for a bit. But still, like make the money to back.
It blows my mind how like someone like Hassan seems so miserable, and I mean, he's probably miserable because his ideas are dumb. But like, dude, you make millions of dollars. You could quit now and be fine. Like PewDiePie,
his dad's like a billionaire, apparently. So
he's like a foreign rich national.
I don't know. That gets sticky because people will be like, "Oh, this like big liberal speakers actually like got money," and it's like, well, like they can't help how they were born, and it seems like maybe it's a grift, but it seems the rhetoric is like he's conscientious of his privilege, and so he's trying to like.
I call that insecurity.
Sure, maybe I don't know. I'm trying to be good faith, like Eric July. I'm always good faith. As God intends, when I'm contracting. So.
Man, your pinned tweet cracked me up because of how well it mimicked the King James. It cracked me up because like when you put like and yea, even the horseman, dude, like there are so many passages in the King James that read just like that. Like, and I was like, man, Angus grew up in like the Catholic Church.
I have a Douay Rheims Bible. Like, okay, so there's an idea I have. I've had it because I was an acolyte, which is the altar boys. So like they wear my church, we wear the black robe with like the little white.
That
top.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. I carried the cross. I lit the candles.
So you're one of the Sith. You're an acolyte. You're dark robe.
I knew the name acolyte.
Yeah, you knew what that meant. Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's one of those rare words.
So the guy in the acolyte, he wanted a little boy in a dark robe. Is that what he wanted?
But no, my priest was I'm weird with the pedophile jokes with priests because like I really liked my priest. He's from India.
Yeah,
I was really just making this just based on what we saw in the acolyte. I'm not even doing it.
Well, yeah, honestly, I can see that with Rookie.
Not
like
intentionally.
Totally oblivious of like church, faux pas and common like negs on because he's not, didn't grow up with this stuff. But anyway, my priest was Indian. He knew Hindi, of course. Maybe another language over there, but English as well and Spanish. So and he's Benedictine, so that's like the most strict order of priests, monks, and stuff. And I always felt bad knowing about like because Benedict was taking off with the whole like church scandal, hiding the convict priests and replacing with new parishes and stuff to like hide him. He was the problem Benedict inherited was like, first of all, he was in the Nazi youth, so people instantly write him off. But then also he inherited this problem that comes to light finally, and he's trying to like judiciously handle it without like tarnishing the he's trying to like meet justice properly without tarnishing the public image more of the church. So he had like a real uphill battle. So I feel bad for him, just like his plight, coming into that office that way, especially after John Paul II, who was fucking awesome. Me not even Catholic anymore. It's like, no, Joe Mahal is fucking cool. Like that's what Pope's need to be like. You know, he's very stern. Like, hey, this is the faith. Do it or get the fuck out. You know,
Get bent.
that was kind of his attitude. Yeah. But no, I always felt bad for priests in general because of the
It's a
scandals.
hard job.
The scandals, they're sacrificing paternity for a spiritual paternity.
Mhm.
How fulfilling is that really compared to like, I just really want to get laid, you know, like, you know, the male drive, suppressing that like that. I just really appreciate the sacrifice that they take on for their perceived calling. And then like kind of we're in an age where they get no credit for it and they get all smeared because of a few criminals in the ranks, which is weird because like you read the Bible and it's not the church, but the I don't know what you call the cabal of
the
synagogue, whatever.
Priest. Yeah, the priest.
Yeah, it's weird to call Jews priests though, but yeah, the priests.
Well, they started it.
Yeah. Like God would curse Israel.
Yeah.
For bad priests because like they're human, so you're gonna have fallible people that are nefarious that get in the ranks of good jobs, you know, good intended jobs, because it's a human institution, you know, it's fallible to people in it. So yeah, I don't know, I just really respect it. But yeah, I was an acolyte and I want to do it's always been an idea in my head. I don't know how to go about it, but you know, now that I'm in comics and stuff, it's like, well, that could be a cool maybe limited series graphic novel run. I want to do an acolyte where it's like because I love Vlad the Impaler, so my favorite historical guy besides like Alexander and Leonidas. Vlad the Impaler is awesome.
Wasn't he raised by the Turks?
Yeah, he was a prisoner of state because Wallachia got like taken. Well, they were kind of like they were in control of like the I think Holy Roman Empire, but they didn't really screw with them. It was just more of like a political thing, but like he had to convert to Catholicism because they were all Orthodox over there. And they had like German influence with like priesthood and stuff. But yeah, they got taken over. They had like some deal with like Turkey, the Ottomans. And so like both of him and his brother had to be prisoners of state. And so he was raised by them. So he learned all of his tactics that he used on them.
Yeah, he learned impalement from them.
Yeah, he just did it on a massive scale for psychological warfare, which is awesome.
Yeah, like cool. That's a cool like history thing, especially military warfare. Is like he's like, I know what scares them. Like, so
also, he would do it to his own people. So this is why he's vilified in a lot of medieval art because he was from like basically as far as West Europe is concerned, he's from the Orient, being in East Europe. And he's doing these like Islamic kind of things. You know, they're probably have only vilified and he's like doing it. So it's like, wow, like these people are devils, but he's like, they would draw him as Pontius Pilate washing his hands of Jesus. That's how much like the West hated him.
Well, that's where the vampire thing came from. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just crazy because I think, having read about him, I think just like the offensive line of football is unsung heroes of the game. When they win, you know, they don't get credit. I think Vlad the Impaler is a hero of Western. Like maybe the Renaissance wouldn't have happened if he wasn't there to stop the Ottomans from invading.
Yeah, he kept them at bay for a long time.
Yeah, and he only had like a third of their size army, and he just used tactics. But yeah, he would do it to his own people. Like he would go into town and see like someone kind of like scantily clad. It's like, why aren't you at home serving your husband? And she might pop off like a smart mark. She's like, put her on a steak. So people think that people try to psychoanalyze him that he was like,
I get so tired of that.
He had ED or something that he got off. This was like sexually arousing for him. It's like,
I know it's always that.
I mean, it's cool when you watch like HBO Stars stuff about the ancients of various points medieval, where it's like, oh, they had all these like, hidden sexual fetishes.
Yeah, it must have been that.
It's like, no,
conviction.
It's like, okay, I mean, it's kind of cool to like peel a layer off of like kind of a very nice, simple narrative we've been raised with in history class. But yeah, again, conviction. He's fighting like an enemy. He's having to fight his own brother. His brother just totally bought in. He was a chai boy for these people. So, yeah, he was a janissary for like he was, I guess it's like a captain or something. Like his brother just totally bought in to the Ottoman way. Yeah, and what's crazy is Vlad actually was like the ruler 3 different times. At one point, he was like a prisoner of state or whatever in Hungary or whatever, Austria. So his last campaign, he got supposedly killed. Like no one knows where his body is. There's all this weird mystery stuff to him. But yeah, fucking. Anyway, Vlad, I want to set my book in that region where it's like a young Catholic community, and one of the guys in the community served in the wars, got killed, and so this young child is being raised fatherless with like a crusader, basically. A crusader that has died. It's his legacy he's inheriting, and then his mother dies, so he has to get raised by the church as an orphan. So there's the benefit of being educated, and then he gets like a certain calling, and I want to have him kind of cross paths with Martin Luther at some point going west. As like a kid, it would be like an Easter egg for like history fans, like, whoa, it's Martin Luther.
Your Catholic fans like, he should have killed that guy.
Well, yeah. No, Luther's weird because he had a lot of value to what he's saying, but he went off his fans, whatever you want to call them, went too far, you could argue.
That's tend to how it goes.
Also, he did not have the education to edit the Bible, and he unfortunately set the template for Protestantism in their watered down Bible.
Those 2 books he removed or whatever.
Well, he removed certain like language. Like he just didn't have the education to edit, because he didn't know like all the history, the different language translations and stuff. And that's very important because like people today read like, oh, Jesus' brothers. So clearly Mary had children after Jesus. She had sex. She's not eternally a virgin. It's like, well, they didn't have a word for cousin, so and that really makes a difference when you have that context. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't things like that.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy the eternal virgin thing because I'm not Catholic, but I do know the argument you're talking about. Like, yeah, we don't know if
matter
they're brothers or cousins. Yeah.
Yeah, the virgin thing is like, I feel like
I think it's a weird thing to obsess over.
Well, it's because it's like the Immaculate Conception already happened, so it doesn't matter after the fact. Like she was a pure vessel until he's delivered. So afterward, have all the cock you want. Like,
when it said Joseph did not know her until after his birth, like, and that term in the Bible usually means sex.
Yeah, they want sex. That is not happening. You ever seen Wise Kids?
Yeah.
Sex robot.
I am of that age. Yeah.
I fucking love sex.
Well, I'm glad I asked about that pinned tweet. Because you just
the Douay Rheims. You should get the Douay Rheims Bible. Get a copy or find it online. The language is very interesting because it's kind of, I think it's like one of the oldest modern translations. It's older than Luther's shit, and that's a very valid point.
The Damon Wayans Bible.
Douay Rheims. I'm not sure who Douay Rheims is, if that's a person or a collection of names. I don't know the history, but it's older.
Once you go far back, it's always one guy who wrote 1,000 books, but it turns out it was a school of like 100 dudes that wrote books under his name. Yeah. Like all those alchemy books are like by Hublar the Great, and it's like, it's like 400 guys wrote it or something.
Yeah. Well, it's funny talking about that because Ricky's already heard about this, but I've been investigating the Maccabean Revolt.
Okay, yeah, the Maccabees or whatever.
Yeah, I haven't read them I haven't read the books, but because I'm playing Slukin Empire with some of their stuff on YouTube, and it's very interesting because about 100 years ago, this new dialogue started in the history community that we've bought this narrative that Hanukkah was like, oh, a revolt just against the Greek invaders, and they win, and it's like actually. A lot of it was basically Jew on Jew violence. It was like you could argue secularized, Hellenized Jews versus these Orthodox wackos. Unfortunately, the wackos won, which makes me sad as a Greek fan. So I'm like, boo. Which is funny. It's like, wow, they've been making narratives for over 2,000 years.
I just like that you're like just a blatant fan of the Greeks, no matter what time period. I always take their side.
Yeah. Well, it's like, man. Well, it's funny too because, the Jews thought like, we'll like buddy up with Rome. Rome will keep those Greeks out from defiling our temple. Take that, Greeks. And it's like, oh man, like 200 years later, you have no temple. It's what you fucking get.
That's a good Joker.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
My favorite Joker attempt is a Rookie, actually.
Rookie, can you do it?
No. The wait, should I just pull the clip up? I don't think he's seen the clip of us reading.
I haven't
The
seen
Batman,
any clip of
the
any-
Batman one, and the
yeah.
other guy.
Let me pull this up for you because it's like one of my favorite moments. With
I don't know
Do
if
you-
the villain
do
was a
you
Joker in that one, but
Do you store the clips in SteamYard? Is that what you do?
You can if you. I don't know if it does it automatically, but if you have the paid option, which thank you, Rookie, for paying for this.
yeah, I just
me.
got charged again. It's the annual charge.
Okay, it's one of my shorts. Here we go.
Well, hopefully you're wearing them.
Oh, yeah, I'm always
Eat
wearing
mine.
Mhm.
Can I zoom in? Shit.
Did your poster come in, Angus? Did you get it?
Oh fuck yeah! See, that's why I meant to
Okay, good.
message you. That's why I meant to message you too. On top of this is, hey, what's up, people? I'll get to you in a minute. Thank you for joining the chat. Be sure to tweet this out and get more people to hang out with us. All right, the sharing. There we go. I grew up with I woke up with a fucking headache, so it's still lingering.
At least you didn't wake up feeling like P. Diddy.
So you're saying you have a head wound?
No, I'm not Matt Barr. All right, here we go.
Can I be Batman and you be the acid guy?
No, you be the acid guy. I'll be Batman.
Okay.
Acid guy.
All right, so stop right there, Dr. Fragile. I'm not letting you press the launch sequence.
Oh, what are you do, Batman? Kill me?
Of course not. I'm Batman. I don't kill. I'll just tie you up.
That'll kill me.
Okay, well, I'll forcibly grab your arm.
That'll kill me too.
I will delicately place you on an air mattress.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a way to transport me to a grave because I'll be dead.
Oh man, that's a great moment. I'm glad I clipped that. I fucking love that
That's some
clip.
good shit.
I was trying to do my best Kevin Conroy. That's what I was trying to channel when I was reading it.
I was just being ridiculous.
Yeah, well, it's great. It's a great
Mashy.
Hamilton Bergen. Rames. Yeah, I think it's how you spell it. I actually am going to look this up. Do a Rames.
I thought Hamilton Burger was trying to say realms.
It's okay. You forgot the H, dumbass.
I know. That's why I said trying
No.
to say realms.
Hamilton, the burger guy.
You're the retard, Burger. Not I.
Okay, so this go. I thought it was older. This only goes back to, it looks like 1582. When did Luther publish his heretic Bible?
When he was trying to defeat Superman.
Was it the 16th century?
1522. Wait, so he
Yeah.
completed the Bible and had the Apocrypha, and then he continued to make improvements until 45. I don't know. That sounds like trans male surgery, improving their breasts by removing them. I don't know if I agree with that verbiage on Wikipedia. But the writing style of Dewey Rames, you should check it out. It's fucking great. It's a good like synergy of like, it's a little more modern. It's not as archaic and clunky as King James, but it's still like epic. Like in the Genesis, it's the first time I ever read it this way. It says like it says something like Abel's blood cries out to me or something.
Yeah, it cries out from the dirt or from the soil.
And it's like,
from the
that's
earth.
interesting language. I've never
Yeah.
read that. It just adds a new depth to the betrayal and the savagery of Cain. But anyway, detracting Ricky, you got
Okay,
Star
good.
Wars book coverage.
I'm like 10 pages into the plumber's book.
It's not a bad book. Like I hate Mario, I hate Nintendo, but it's a fun. It's
a
like
funny little book.
lightly sexually charged in a.
It's
in
like
a,
two
more
sisters.
innocent
One's
way.
more serious. One's a goofball. Sort of thing. So.
And it's like, oh, you like that guy? And she's like, oh god, and she's like doing kind of anime. Oh, I'm nervous thinking about this guy. It's like,
oh, some funny stuff.
Yeah, it's just especially in a world with like OnlyFans available all the time on like Twitter and shit, which is cool. It's cool to look at girls' buttholes and stuff. Sometimes you want more like tame. It's a little hotter when it's more tame, actually. Sometimes when it's so outright and easy to see, you like a little bit more like cleverness to it,
right? Or you're expecting, and they'll be naked. Oh, they're not.
You're a man of taste.
Thank you. Yeah. Very taste.
What's up, Daytona Falls? Yeah, so the Acolyte chick, everybody was like, oh my god, she's horrible. I mean, she made some videos like dissing fans.
They were very cringe.
Anti-fans, whatever. Yeah, there's some cringe videos that she made for sure. But then she's doing some photo shoot or somewhere. I didn't look at any of this. I don't really care. But she's got a somewhat see-through dress. Thanks to Shad's post here, though, we got the nips covered, I guess. Because, yeah, Angus is right. Yeah, YouTube could maybe detect it. You never know with YouTube. You never know. But she was practically naked, you could say, with it. When your show failed so bad, you have to flash your tits so people won't forget about you. That's a Shad statement there. I honestly... so when I saw the pictures before I saw anybody's opinions, I was just kind of like, oh, look at that.
Nice.
Whatever. Because I'm just like, it's not like if she did this in the show, well, I mean, there'd be more reason to watch at least that episode or something. But like, I don't know, actresses doing a photo shoot or doing a thing where they're wearing whatever. I feel like that's common enough, but people were comparing people were comparing it to Brie Larson when she was like on one of those Tonight shows and was like seemed to have her breasts a little more open for invitations and whatnot. Her smiling the whole time. People would say, oh, she's trying to win people back a bit or hide, not have anything else added to it.
Yeah, but
maybe
like Hollywood like chicks and like shows, they've been doing like Playboy and stuff since like the 80s.
Yeah. So I don't know why everybody's fixating so hard on just this shoot, because as far as I could tell, she didn't say anything there. She's just wearing it.
It's like, oh no, a girl let me see your nipples. Oh,
like, I mean, she was pretty much like she was showing her belly and stuff in her cringe video that she made and dancing cringe.
If only her acting was as good as how she looked.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
I don't know of anything else she's been in. I need to investigate.
I don't know her history,
but like the direction seemed happy with what she did, so it seemed like she did what they wanted her to do, which was stale for the average viewer. But I think she has acting chops. It feels like her ability was stunted in the show. Just not seeing anything else from her. I think she has way more potential. Like
I'm not sure I see that same potential, but maybe I just need to see more of her to determine that. Honestly,
like if Benicio del Toro's first appearance you ever saw was Last Jedi, you'd be like, well, that guy sucks. But then it's like he's in Sicario. He's fucking awesome. He's in The Hunted. He's a great actor.
That's where I'm at. I am at. I only saw him in The Last Jedi, but with her, only seeing her in this. So this is all I have to go off of. So
it doesn't help that show, like every female character, they did their best to make them look as unattractive as possible.
They always really try. What is up with them trying to not have some sexy chicks? I mean, come on. You don't have to have
Leia was great. Padme was great.
Like you don't have to have them be naked or objectified, but there's classy sexy too if you want to have that.
Dude,
they literally put them in 3 layers of clothing.
Oh my god.
Padme was going, man.
When he's like confessing, like, I can't stop thinking about you and stuff. And it's like, we can't. And she's wearing like a backless dress.
She's like, these are my pajamas. These are my pajamas I wear to bed.
And that one dress she wore to like the dinner scene where it's basically just a corset.
It makes me think every time she leaves a room, she has to have a whole team, like a pit crew for a car, but for her to like get her wardrobe and makeup changed is like in her palace all over around. All right, we gotta be ready to change her.
I definitely want Dan's opinion on this to expound, maybe add more. But I've come to the realization it's kind of like when you analyze like communism and like Nazis, it's like they kind of horseshoe to the same point. Very different means to get there, but it horseshoes to the same totalitarian regime of like everyone's watching each other for the government. Everyone's ready to report each other and stuff. There's no like trust ultimately. Even if you have like even if you have like an aesthetically good looking, for whatever the goal is, community or whatever, it's like ugly on the inside, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of like how they try to do like Handmaid's Tale, where it's like, wow, the cities are clean, it's beautiful, but then it's like sinister because it got like this is all functioning to like have like a male centric like rape coven, or I don't know what you would call it exactly. This theocracy, theonomy, I think is the word they call it actually in analysis. But the left and the right are both kind of like incel-y in the sense of, and I don't like using that word, but that's one thing I think of. The right is so scared of female sexuality unless it's packaged just in a very precise way that's safe and tame. They love motherhood, but they don't actually want to get into like the lust behind like banging out your wife and being attracted to her and shit. They want like the matrimony and stuff, but they don't want sex. You know, that's from the Bible. It's from religious texts of like kind of loathing sexuality, even though they pretend like, well, it's good if it's in the right circumstances. Like they loathe sexuality because it's a carnal desire. And then the left loves the like sinful nature of it and stuff if it's like non-monogamous, if it's non-hetero,
if it's queer.
Yeah, but ultimately they hate sex too. They want sterility.
Yeah.
Because most people are going to lean into, even if they've been passed around at some point, it's a more often natural means that people become monogamous, whether it's gay, queer, bot, whatever. Like people kind of fix it.
No, and for clarify, I didn't mean queer as in like gay. I meant it as in like the critical theory.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It works either way.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah.
Yeah, but like they both like ultimately loathe sex. You know, like the left will promote it if it's sinful, if you will, for lack of a better term. If it's like, pornography, if it's rebellious, if it's attacking the patriarchy, but otherwise they hate sexuality too.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing is like religion, at least Christianity and Judaism they weren't scared of sex. They just considered it sacred. And I actually wrote a thing on this, like on Facebook, like because like there's always been what this quote unquote hypocrisy people find with American television and films of, sex isn't really or wasn't really shown, but violence is. And that's because culturally for Christians and Jews, mostly Christians in America, sex is private, sex is sacred, violence isn't, violence is public. Like everything going back to like the Jewish sacrifice, that had to be public. You had to witness it. And that's the whole point, is that
never thought about that. The public aspect.
Yeah. Violence is public because it has to be justified. Like you show what you're doing and why it's happening. You know what I mean? The sex is always private because sex is sacred. So Christianity and Judaism were never afraid of sex, and they weren't disgusted by it. They just, it was sacred. But whenever something like, I think like fascism, Nazism, anything, and socialism, I think the reason that they hate sex is, and I get this from Orwell and Rand and those kind of guys that saw it happen, is because sex is a bonding force, and it's a binding force in monogamy, and it's against the state. And anything that's against the state can't be tolerated,
Oh yeah, sex, a family, whether it's marriage or not, family is the first level of government.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And that's why Vin Diesel wants to be president.
Well, in some ways, in the theory of patriarchy, it might be the last form of government for a lot of people, and it works. I don't know if everybody would endorse it, but it did work. It's how you distribute power, so you don't have a state that controls everything. If you have reliable men, reliable fathers that can run things and have distributed power and control things amongst each other rather than a centralized force, because that's what the government becomes under totalitarianism. It just becomes father. Like, it kills all the other it becomes a conquering warlord that kills all the other fathers so it can have all the women and children to itself. That's what we're seeing in our state, our country now.
Well, it's funny too. I've noticed this, like the left, both sides.
Yeah.
You know, think about like in a religious aspect, the left has like a weird amoebus religion of like humanism. If sort of
universalism.
yeah. It really, the left is all about like goobacks, like in South Park. They just want like a homogenous, ambiguous sex, ambiguous
all cultures, all races, all sexes, all mixed.
All boundaries destroyed. Yeah, the hive mind.
Yeah. And sorry, my headache. Oh yeah, so science, this kind of ties into it. I've noticed is that the right only like science when it like validates their like religion. Otherwise they're prone to be like, oh no, you're not teaching my kid evolution, we didn't come from monkeys, you know. Always knee jerking. They freaked out about cloning sheep, you know, any new advancement. This will fail because you're playing God, but then it works and then everyone shuts up about it.
Well, there's also a difference between the Christian right and the right, and like well, I mean, I would say there's a big difference because Nazism was not a Christian idea, and neither was fascism, and they get lumped together because of crap like The Handmaid's Tale, and it's like the reason she had to pull from Islamic culture because what she described doesn't happen under Christian theocracy. It happens under Islamic theocracy.
Well, I think it's interesting actually that, you know, she made a pretty scathing commentary about like, you know, it's because of puritanical dress and it's in America. We identify it. She was targeting like Reagan Christian right as well. But yeah, it's a lot of Islamic for modern day points that she's using for the world. But yeah, the fact that she even like says that is, I think, powerful in the world we're in, where like you can't, you know, the left just ignores the faults of Islam for their goals because they're an ally for the time being. But they're probably the first one to knock off once they take out.
Well, they don't consider them a threat. They don't consider them a threat. They consider Christianity a threat, and some of that's. And like, I'm not here batting for Christianity. I don't feel like you have to bat for religion. I think that's kind of lame when people do that. But what I'm saying is the left was founded as anti-Christian. There's no getting around that. Like, literally what we call the left originated with like French thought, particularly the French Revolution, and it was anti-Catholic Church. It was anti-Christian.
So I should be Catholic if you're Christian.
Now here's the thing: like, I've gone back and forth a lot about Catholicism and Orthodoxy because I think the Catholic Church got a lot right. I think the Catholic Church kind of saved Western civilization, but I don't believe in Christian nationalism. I don't believe in like political binding of religion and politics. But I do. I mean, I think like the confession, great idea. I think the way they run a lot of this stuff is great. I don't get the veneration of Mary. I've tried really hard to understand it. I've heard wonderful, like Doug Ernst has explained it to me because he's a Catholic, and he's explained like, okay, she's kind of like the new Ark of the Covenant, and like I get it, and I respect that idea. I think it's beautiful. I just don't think I don't think it's real. So I don't like hate Catholics, and I don't rip them. And I try not to make fun of them because I mean. But I tried to understand Orthodoxy. Orthodoxy is weird. It's like it's all like each nation has its own beliefs, isn't it? It's like it's kind of like national, like Russian, and
they got Russian, Eastern, which is Eastern, like Greek basically, and then
they all they have their own kind of beliefs on everything. It's hard. It's kind of hard to pin down Orthodoxy. I know Jay Dyer is kind of popular on YouTube, and I've liked some of his stuff. I think
who.
Jay Dyer, Jaydyer. He does. I mean, he probably does a lot of stuff you might like. I think he was part of InfoWars for a while. He's a very smart dude. He's funny, but he's blatantly Orthodox, which is fine, and he does a good job defending it in debates and stuff. You'd probably like him. He's a funny guy, and
I really love Orthodox churches. I went to one in Oklahoma for a while.
This dude gives a very good defense for Orthodoxy. I don't get it all because I don't really care to get it all as far as like because but he's got a like a kind of a hate boner for Catholics. I probably shouldn't ascribe that to him, but he does not like Catholicism.
Sounds like Stoney McInternet douche when he pops in the chat.
His name's Jay Dyer. You probably like him.
Before I forget, the problem with the left is they love science, they love creation, evolution and stuff, for instance, which I agree with. But then they love just ignoring reality on their part because of their religion, in the sense of like patriarchy. That's what has come to mind. Patriarchy, you look at all the other apes, because we're an ape. Look at the other apes, they're all patriarchal. It's all male focused in some way. Whether you have like the explicit like harem of the gorilla, if you have the like troop, very promiscuous chimps, both sexes are very promiscuous, or if you have the kind of like solitary orangutans that really only interact intersex wise during mating season. And it's all male focused. So like male is like the leader. And yet humans, it's like it's made up. There's no precedent.
Like this has magically happened.
It's not that women can't be, like I really hated The Last of Us, the discourse, because people cry about the gay episode, which is a good episode. That's what gays in film should be. It shouldn't be like, I'm the flamer, I'm the obvious gay one. Hi. It should be like, wow, here's like he's an alt-right, he's basically like MAGA, he hates the government, he's a doomsday prepper. And he's gay. Like, that's awesome. It's nuanced. But the other discourse we were crying about was the female leader. And it's like, how could a woman lead? She's making the army guy do stuff. And it's like, a lot of army guys, I was in the army, it's like, good at following orders, or good at executing, or good at doing the physical labor. Not all of us are fucking technicians and strategists.
She was only the leader for like 2 weeks before they got killed. She got them all killed. Shouldn't they be happy with that? Like that she led them.
Yeah, they don't even follow through with the whole plot. They just instantly go woman. And it's like they only validate the leftist critique on them that like they just hate women and minorities. It's like, yeah, I agree. I do.
Like,
think
they followed her because of her brother, and she was the most sparked with anger for revenge for him.
But you're talking nuance, and people don't like nuance. Doesn't sell.
I know. Yeah, people really like to pin you on one point or one sentence, one thing, if they can. If there's anything else, then that's not as definitive now. So,
well, and it's like, I mean, I didn't watch the show, but my thing is like, first of all, like patriarchy. It's not what the feminists claim, which was rule of men. It's rule of fathers. And that's a huge difference.
Yeah, that's why we have the marriage ritual. Is like the fathers passing on this responsibility.
And I don't mean this in like a manosphere type thing, but who does marriage benefit? If men were the sexual predator, horrible rulers that feminists claim, why would they have invented marriage? Why would they have invented monogamy? That doesn't make sense.
That's my whole thing is like, if you're being really blunt about it, like women only have rights because men let them.
If we're talking, if everything is the postmodern view of pure power, which is how feminists view it, yes, that's exactly it. Why would they share power?
Yeah, men, we have no problem being egalitarian. But like women don't want to be, you see all these TikToks more and more coming out where it's like, oh man, I did all this like study and stuff just so I can try to get a guy with like this status and to provide for me so I don't have to work. It's like all the hoops you jump through, you just overcomplicated the whole process.
Yeah, learn to bake and you're good.
Right, yeah.
Like that sounds so stupid, and someone's like, look, girl, like for real, if you want a guy to like work for you, just learn to have like a cake or something whenever he gets home, and he'll take care of you the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's like in Everybody Loves Raymond. I remember there's this episode where Marie is like shook because Frank ate like this dish Deborah made.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It was like the first dish that she made for Frank.
Yeah.
That like he asked her to marry him when.
Oh man, do you remember the chicken tetrazzini on like Maury or whatever?
No.
Or Jerry Springer was like, it's like these two ladies. She's like, she tried to seduce my man with her chicken tetrazzini. And she's going, Paul love it, Paul love it, Paul love the chicken tetrazzini. Like they get in a fight.
I could see
these
that.
black
Yeah,
people.
Plastic setup.
Oh, of course, yeah. Like I
Just
wasn't doing
making
an Italian accent.
Right.
Just
The
making
wig
sure.
pulling. There you
These were clearly Asians. I was describing.
You like that chicken tetrazzini?
Yeah, I've got the old school like black girl voice. Da, 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 da. Whatever. I mean, I went to school in the South. My nickname in high school was White Boy. Like, come on, like.
Yeah.
I'm cool with everybody, unlike Angus, who doesn't care for the Irish.
What? I have no opinion on the Irish. It's like, just stay in your fucking little island. Leave me alone. Goddamn potato eaters.
You're like watching out your window, looking for any of them.
It's like Austin Powers. It's like, it's only two things I can't stand: people intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch.
Yes.
No, like
hold on.
the best way to describe the left is just anti-Christian, and I don't mean that from a Christian standpoint. It's just like everything that they define themselves by is basically just anti-Christian. That's it.
I would make it even more simple. It's just like anti normal mechanisms of our biological reality. That
I think that's a good point too. I mean, that's literally what critical queer theory is. It's if anything is considered normal, do the opposite of that.
Yeah, it's just
like that's the academic queer definition. Yeah,
it's just people that weren't bullied because we got rid of bullying, and so really the bullying. It needs to come back. Like that's bullying's been the impetus for so much through history. Like,
I mean, that's what inspired people to do things.
Alexander the Great conquered Persia because they kept bullying them for 150 years.
Bullying is self-governance of society. It's people being in charge of their own society. We don't have that. We have government bureaucracy. You can't have people. The whole thing is that you can't have people making their own social choices.
It's like you can't even like have it be a situation where there's a fight and somebody chooses to try to break up the fight. You can't even you can't even have that. You can't have fighting over a chick or something. You slept with my girl, fuck you. No, I'm thinking Jerry Springer now. You got that in my head. So
I like your Asian accent
on that one.
He's really good.
That was me going for the black accent.
No, that was
you
Asian
slept with my
accent.
man. What you talking about?
Rook, you got your accent from movies.
Yeah,
you should see. I'll send you a link on my. So I did a video years ago when Captain Marvel hysteria was big, and me being half black,
Man, it was a bad movie, but yeah.
Me being half black, I had a very fun angle to play with the video. So I took like old like Looney Tunes, like racist cartoons of like black people, monkeys, and stuff. That kind of cartoon. That was my background, and I literally wrote the script the way I said it to make sure I stayed in character and not like having to translate it in my head. So I'm like, ooh, Tom Show used to be hot.
I asked him if he's just writing down a normal script and then adding an accent to it. Because I was like that because I thought it'd be funny if he did write it as he's saying it. And then he showed me the script. I'm like, what? You wrote it that way?
It's fun. I was so excited because I was trying to get people to like share it as like they were triggered by it. Like, can you believe this racist? They got like 50 views really quick, and then it just like got nuked because of the cartoon.
Yeah.
Even though I got the cartoon from YouTube and just edited it with my voiceover, but the whole thing is like, man, until Captain Marvel, us blacks couldn't do anything, And
thanks to her, we can now go to the cinema and watch Captain Marvel.
Oh god, you have like a mammy voice going on.
And so I did a whole litany of like all these like great black firsts. She's the first black astronaut, Martin Luther King, Obama, etc. Ollie, everything.
All pale in comparison to Captain Marvel.
Right. I was like, never mind this and that, and the black woman that won the Oscar and Gone with the Wind and etc. I was like, nope, thanks to Captain Marvel. I was like, I said something where I'm like, used to before Captain Marvel, we used to have to sit in the balcony, and I can't see too good. Like,
and then did you end it with "We made it"?
No, I ended it with brought to you by I was saying like Disney or somebody cut it with like Klan videos from like the
God.
60s.
Jesus.
Well, he started
I
the
was like,
video was like almost my favorite part was from Blast from the Past. Have you seen that?
oh my
Brendan
lucky
Brendan
stars.
Fraser. Oh my lucky stars! 8.
Man, one of like the favorite things
Right
we
here,
do-
right here. It's
one of the favorite things we do in high school
wait,
is like
Dan,
just
Dan, it's
yeah,
right
go
here.
ahead.
Oh, my lucky stars! A Negro!
Man,
I love that because she's like, what? And he's like, so nice to meet you.
do you guys
ma'am."
remember when not Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan said the N word in the first
No.
Rush Hour?
Oh yeah,
I never.
In
I
the
never watched
first
that,
Rush
yeah.
Hour, he got attacked in the bar.
Yeah. Well, because Tucker's saying all of these
Yeah.
racial Asian things to him, and he says,
Yeah.
"Yeah, one thing to them." It's like, nope.
No, he thought it was a greeting.
Yeah,
And like,
yeah,
they were like, what
because
did
the way
you
he was
say?
right, the way he was using it with each other. Yeah.
One of my favorite things to do in high school was like a bunch of us, you could start fights, people just sitting in the back and be like, no, it ain't. Just, people like, what? Yeah, it is.
All right, you're from Carolina.
Yeah.
So
Somebody would just get mad if you just said, no, it ain't, to whatever anyone said.
That reminds me of the old insult of, wow, I think you look nice. Not. Just like, oh, okay.
oh,
yeah,
I love
all
the
right.
Borat where it's
Yeah.
like this shirt is like you tell a
My
nut
wife
joke.
not.
And he's like, this shirt is black nut. He's like, no. And he's like, the shirt is black. Pause. Not. And then he's like,
Yeah,
the shirt is
black.
black.
Pause, not.
Pause. Not. Because he's playing a fucking Arab. Man, that movie is so great. And now that like the Leslie Control, he does a new one, and then it sucks because
Oh yeah, that one was bad.
he ruined it, man. Like it's so fun.
He tried to have a plot with it. That's what it was. Just
One of those things you don't need a sequel to, but if you do, like, you have to have a point to it. What was the point?
well, you know, it's crazy. I actually read into like a wiki article about there's a bunch of lawsuits because of that movie. Like the guy,
the first movie or second one?
Yeah, the first one. The driver, the school driver, whatever, tried to sue, and then when he sings the fake national anthem of Kazakhstan, whatever, the National Olympics for that country, they accidentally, for the ceremony of their awards, they accidentally downloaded on iTunes that version because it's called just the national anthem of whatever, and so they just didn't pay attention, download it, so they had to do a new ceremony. There's all sorts of dumb little shenanigans with that. I think Pam Anderson probably tried to sue. Like that's a punk movie. Like with you saying punk all the time, it's like, that's punk. That's cool. That's a rebel.
that
movie.
first one definitely was cool. Yeah,
It's hilarious, and because it's like, yeah, it's funny because Muslims are weird. Like,
How far after 9/11 was that?
like 4 years.
not far enough.
Yeah,
Rook.
so it was, so it was pretty close hit to home.
You're
with
still
that
talking
sort of
about
thing.
it.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, it's great. It's like, you know, they're running of the Jews and stuff. It's like, quick, smash the Jew chick before it touches. And then he's at a bar in America because like he's doing all this like liberal commentary about America and how we're all dumb and by his narratives. It's actually kind of sympathetic to the Muslim plight of being labeled terrorists. So it's a very nuanced take, even though it is like we'll still make jokes that resonate because Muslims, they're terrorists. But like I love it when he goes to the bar and they're saying like throw the Jew down the well, and like all the like rednecks are like, yeah, and they're all drunk singing with them.
Yeah, a bunch of guys who've never really like even used the term or knew like have met a Jew in their life. That they would know.
It's like it's like the atmosphere of it.
Did I tell you about my first Jew experience, Dan?
No, Angus, you haven't.
Well, he's
It was
told me
funny.
recently, so that's why he's telling you.
Yeah, it's on my mind.
It
until it
confused.
came up.
Well, it's part of him educating me on religion stuff and whatnot, and so
It was education
it's
freaks. I'm like,
different
what?
pieces, and I'm like, are you on an alien planet? Like, what are you talking?
So it was in the army at AIT for medic training. They did it was Thanksgiving, so they had two programs like Operation like Mission Valero or something. Like Valero hosted like a big dinner with a bunch of soldiers, and everyone else did like the other version. where veteran families would take at least 2 of us for dinner at their home.
All right.
And it was funny because I'm from Oklahoma, and I'm getting exposed to all sorts of different people and cultures now. Not like race necessarily, but just other people from other states and temperaments and stuff. And a guy like a room down from me, he was named Burns. He was joking when we signed up for it because we agreed to be like battle buddies for this mission. And he's like, "Oh, watch us get a Jew family. We can't mix milk and meat." And like, I remember him saying that, but it didn't resonate at all. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And then lo and behold, we get picked by this old lady because we're like towards the end of the picking, the way like our platoon was set up. And so we start walking to the parking lot with her, and we're either walking to a Veterans for Obama Toyota car or a giant Ford Excursion with a 50 caliber license plate cover. And of course, we get in the Obama car, and then we go across San Antonio, and then we get to this house. And as soon as you go to the door, there's all these like fucking menorahs and shit decorating.
You spin a dreidel.
We just watched the dreidel last night on South Park. Anyway, looking at, I'm seeing all this Jew shit, all this Hebrew lettering and shit everywhere for decor. And it was just like, it's not really dawning because I don't know really. Even though I watched like all the Bible shit, my mom and stuff, it's not really dawning on me. And get in there, and then she like offers us coffee because it's like, I don't know, 11 in the morning. And we're like chatting whatever, talking about like what we do. And her, and I set the cup on the table. It's like a kitchen table. I'm like, well, obviously this should be a fine place to set a coffee cup. And she's like, whoa, no. I'm like, what? I'm thinking like, oh god, do I need a coaster? She's like, no, this is a meat table, and that's a milk cup. And I'm like, what?
What?
Huh? He said a milk cup, and I was like,
is it made of milk?
And then I was like, wait a second, a meat table.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
What are you talking
And so through the day, I keep making these fucking infractions. On top of it, they invited their like nephew, who they haven't seen since he was like a baby, and he's like 30 now. They invited him randomly to Thanksgiving.
So he's still a baby.
No. He hasn't seen them in years. And so we're like, they infrared grilled the fucking turkey. All right. And then all the other dishes are just sitting on the table cold because we're waiting on this fucker. And I'm fucking hungry as shit. And then like the rolls were cold, and so I go in the kitchen like, oh, there's a microwave, cool. And I pop in the microwave, warm up my roll, and he's like, dude, her eyes just went like, her skin just went fucking white. I used a milk microwave on the meat roll. And so at some point, like, oh, I keep making these fucking Jew infractions. At some point, I just like, I'm having some drink or something. I purposely mix like creamer in it to like secretly vandalize their culture more. And I'm just getting some. I'm like, no wonder Hitler did the shit he did. Like,
you just trying to have some coffee at their house and just ruining all of this, trying to do simple interactions.
It was awful, man. Horrible. Worst Thanksgiving ever.
I would seriously be like, are you like, do you have cameras? Are you pranking me? What are you doing?
I'm sorry you were mildly inconvenienced for an evening, Angus.
Well, no, it's just like, baffling. Like you would think, because he's trying to be polite at a house as a guest, but then it's like, oh, your meat table.
Yeah, you hang out with the Muslim.
Your milk, like you have normal things, like a chair is something of which you would sit in. I assumed if he turned on the TV, they'd be like, no, that's the wrong remote. That's the, I don't know, kosher remote. I don't know what you
yeah, the kosher remote. No, that's the milk remote.
I thought you could only not mix. I thought it was only that you couldn't cook an animal in its mother's milk.
That's where it comes from, but they just do this all over for everything. They just, to make sure they never, because especially factory farm, I guess it's just a safeguard for their stupid custom, which makes no sense. And I
don't think I've ever cooked meat and milk either.
Well, no, people put like, especially deer meat and stuff to soften up, or liver,
really?
like, soften up the meat. You put it in milk. So
I'm glad we're going back to like 1840 years.
But it's like just imagine you're just going to somebody's house. Hey, you're at your wife's parents' house or something, and then you're just like, oh, here they offer you coffee. All right, cool. And then you just have it's like, oh, you're doing that wrong. You're just like, I don't.
Yeah, you go to a Muslim house.
If I move, am I gonna ruin something at some point? Now
you go to a
because it's
Muslim
so
house, they
upside
don't like
down.
trick you. They don't have different dishes. It's like, hey, we don't eat pork, and guess what? There's no fucking pork in the house. We don't smoke. There's no cigarettes in the house.
You go to the bathroom. You go to the bathroom, and they're like, "That's our drinking water" or something, like the toilet. It's like I feel like what?
Yeah, and it's like they roll up their fucking prayer mats unless there's an obvious like prayer corner or something. Like, these are very similar. They're from literally the same cloth. Islam is a Jewish cult, just like Christianity, and yet it's like the culture's so fucking removed in these dumb ways, and it's like, oh my god. And then I just saw, because I follow anti-Semitic accounts, they're funny, and I saw this one meme where it's like land of milk and honey, like that's quote in what Exodus or whatever, Canaan. Yeah, it's like the whole go, ooh, milk and honey, ooh, and yeah. By the way, if you like sweet milk, mix honey in your milk, it's really good. But anyway, yeah, it's like a verbiage. So yeah, that it doesn't add up too, and like that's like a more like known little like quote or whatever. And yet like 80% of these people are lactose intolerant. So it's like, what? What? Land and honey my ass. Milk and honey my ass. Oh man.
Oh yeah.
They are annoying.
I just find it funny because I never would experience these
French people.
No.
Pretty annoying.
Not yet. Not yet. I've heard like the jokes that they're smelly people. They don't bathe.
We had some German exchange students in college. It was funny because they were Aryan as hell. They were like 6'3", 4, blonde hair, blue eyes.
Hell
like,
yeah.
And
pure bloods.
Two girls and two guys. And they came to a football game, and I don't think they'd ever seen black people like in their life. And it was like a college game, and like the players came to the field, and like there was like linebackers and everything, and like they turn and go, one of those guys, and I'm gonna sound like Drago, but he's like, "That is the biggest human being I've ever seen." And it's like, dude, this is college, man. Like they get a lot bigger, trust me. And then took him to like the shooting range, and like after like one shot, the same German guy goes, "I love America."
It felt really good. Just like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it now.
We had an English exchange student. His name was Dan. We called him English Dan. And he
to not mix you up with American Dan.
He was fun. He was a brash douche. I loved it. He would just say whatever he thought, and we had, when he left, we bought him we went to the gas station and bought him the most southern shirt we could find. It was like, it had like an eagle, and it was holding 2 rifles in its claws, and it was like a Second Amendment shirt.
Confederate flag?
And it had a rebel flag.
Yeah! Yeah!
He wore it to land in England. He was like, my friend's gonna be like so pissed when I land.
Yeah.
It's funny about the rebel flag, because it gets
tied
to the Klan. But the rebel flag is like the most American fucking flag.
Oh, it's everywhere here in the South. Like nobody cares.
Yeah, but no, like legitimately, you think about like 1776, and hey, you're trying to like fuck me without representation, take 3% tax on my tea or whatever the fuck, we're gonna kill you people, And then 80 years later, South's like, hey, you uppity Northerners don't have to worry about the slave industry to provide your income, trying to like meddle in my affairs. See, like I'm a very pragmatic, very objective, I feel, about the circumstance of slavery. And it's like, first of all, the founding fathers put the Compromise 1800 in the Constitution, where it's like they literally set it up to start phasing slavery out. They understood the problem with their rhetoric and slavery coexisting, but they understood like we can't just stop this all of a sudden. And so try and phase it out. I think it's a good compromise for the time. It's obviously like for their time, a liberal take, a progressive take, without just kneecapping farmers. And yeah, like the Pharisees, like slavery was like a point of contention with like states and federal rights and stuff. That was the argument, but it wasn't. When people say it's about slavery, it's like they didn't care about black people, dude. I don't know why he glossed over, dude. Because Abe Lincoln, if it's about slavery, why didn't he free the slaves in 1861? Oh, wait, he waited 2 years. Oh, right, because he actually didn't care. He was going to let them keep the slaves if he could preserve the Union. He didn't give a fuck. So I don't know why people like paint this like cutesy narrative about the noble North. You know, Gangs of New York, that era. I was in a sports industry class about the history of sports in America, and they're talking about how like
say that again.
But history of sports in America.
Sports history. That's a college class if I've ever heard one.
Well, it's cool because you learn about like the Puritans and their activities, and then it like advances into like early boxing. yeah, like their free time after all their work and shit, and all the people in the cities doing industry for fucking like 16 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Oh yeah,
and how we're starting to like phase into more like free time, and that's where the sports kind of came from. And boxing was one of the early things. We're talking about like this Gangs of New York era in the North, and how like, oh yeah, you know, sure, there's a lot of like white America versus Irish problems, but when there's a black guy that had a business, they'd team up and burn his fucking store down because they all hated the blacks. So that's the North. That's like a little taste of the North for you.
Yeah, North was pretty bad.
That's how that connects with the slavery thing I was talking about, where it's like, no, they didn't want blacks there. It's like, go to Canada. We don't get away from me. Like they didn't want them either. So I really hate this narrative. Like there's actually the blacks in the military probably had it better in the Confederacy if they served than being in the North, because it's like separate but equal. Versus like everyone in the South's fucking farmers. There's, hey, you know, you're a free man. Cool. Let's kill these Yankees. Like there was a more like ease of culture of like assimilating the free black in the South.
The Civil War is complicated. That's what is so strange. People don't want to talk about nuance. Like it was hell for the Irish. Like they were basically thrown to the front like as soon as they came in. That's how they were promised citizenship. Yeah. And they
also, it helps get rid of your Irish problem if you have a long enough war.
I'm laughing because that reminds me of Fight Club. Like, oh, I solved that couch problem. Like I solved that Irish problem. And that was part of it. They didn't care for the Irish. But yeah, like they called it Lincoln's War. Like a lot of the Irish did. They're like, oh, we got to go fight for Lincoln's War. And they had a completely different view of it. They thought he was more of the aggressor and all that kind of stuff. I love studying General Lee just because like the objective fact is like every general after him highly respected him.
Yeah.
And battle for battle, he may have been the single greatest general of all time. That's what's really weird. If they've compared him to like Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan and stuff, they're like, maybe this guy may have actually been a better tactician and strategist than them based on his odds, you know, and how he actually won. It's
also
weird.
He had you say home field advantage with his troops, mostly a lot of southern fight. As far like I don't think of Virginia as the South because I'm from Oklahoma, so it's like
it is, but yeah.
But
Texas isn't the South.
Well, no, Texas is the South.
Nah.
I mean,
no,
like
there's the South,
Southern,
and Texas is its own thing. We don't claim Texas.
There's the South, and there's the South.
Well, there's the South, and there's Texas. Won't claim us either. Like
there's the South, and there's those steers and queers in Texas.
There's a joke there. I can't say it.
No balls. You're not punk.
Yeah, that's it. I don't care.
No, yeah, it's pretty interesting. I remember growing up watching Gods and Generals, and I get older, and it's like, of course, you get liberalized, especially in college stuff. We're like, oh man, they just totally like whitewashes the noble South, you know? And it's like, but then even in the Patriot, they do that, which is weird because way before slavery is even a problem, really, for the average American. They're worried about the British and their stability, and he's got slaves. But then they like paint this narrative with the black guy in the group and with the troops, where it's like, I'm proud to serve with you. It's like, what is this shit?
I don't think that happened.
Like that's the one cringe shit in that fucking movie is the way they try to paint like, oh, the Patriot. This is for all America. It's like, I don't know if you listen to Nick Fuentes at all, but I love how he talks about like the RNC, how they were like rolling out their diversity this time around. They had Amber Rose, which is controversial. They had like I've seen this one meme where it's like, I'm proud to be gay and proud to be Republican. It's like, yeah, no, I do think like the like really hard far right, alt right guys are kind of right about like both sides are this, which I've always said both sides are basically the same, but it is really cringe when you see people on the right trying to roll out the diversity instead of just being like merit. That's their whole campaign, like merit and character.
The American conservative right has a tendency to adopt the language of the left and the beliefs of the left just slower.
That's why we're losing.
I guess, yeah.
That's how I view it.
if you're looking at
there's
it,
no fixing this. There's no fixing this until everyone's they're gonna take our guns, but then no one's like really making a militia to like, hey, we're like the Texas militia, we're the Ohio militia. You come here, feds, we're gonna shoot you. Like, there's none of that. There's no like 1776.
We need
like,
to make a real floor spark,
real movement,
and take it back.
And because you don't know if it's just an FBI, CIA gay op, so you don't want to join any of it. Out of that, like, fear of getting.
Yeah, I'd say nowadays there's so much 4D chess with everything that I'm like, I don't even know if whatever I'm seeing is real half the time.
I'm like, I just toss my hands up and say, I don't care. I'll just learn about Rome.
Well, that is a concern. Like, the big concern that I think people overlook is the balkanization of the U.S. And a lot of guys on the right are like, oh, we gotta separate balkanize. Like, dude, the second the U.S. balkanizes, it's done. Like,
well, you can't, because every state's going to have at least a minority. Like in Washington, there's going to be a minority at least. It's going to be state on state violence.
Yeah.
There's no like front, it's civil war.
And that's when China or Russia could easily.
I feel like they
control
just
anything.
I feel like they just wait until a lot of us kill each other, and then it's just like, well, all right, I guess we can waltz in, set up a Chinese McDonald's.
It's amazing how much of that stuff is funded by China. Like, how much of like the weird information stuff is funded. Like, there are psychological ops happening.
Apparently,
all the time.
Russia too.
Russia owns
probably.
Tim Pool.
Yeah.
That sounds believable and unbelievable, but also maybe believable. Like,
it's like they own that. It's like I think they owned part of like that chick's company or paying her something.
I seemed like she had knowledge of it because she just ghosted herself off of the internet after she got exposed. And so it's like every person you listen to on the right, you should like question if they're like, same with like RK Outpost, Geeks and Gamers, Nerdrotic, like all these people. We should wonder. First of all, they're just pandering for money to the general sentiments of like libs of TikTok followers.
And like I'm not trying to like get into detracting, because I try to give my opinion on comics. I make comics, so I try not to overstep my boundary on stuff. But like I'll talk about Ice. I'm like, I thought it was a bad comic, but and I don't know the guy. I try not to beat on Eric July because I don't know him. But like, I don't like the Blaze. Like, I don't like that there's this media thing conglomerate that is there to push a narrative. You know, like, again, that's not punk to me. So like, it makes it hard for me to like buy into like the comic stuff, because I'm like, the Blaze is producing this, you know?
Yeah, I was just talking about Ricky about that. It's like, okay, put some pieces together for you for like a comparison. October 7th last year. Oh, they got surprised by Hamas on makeshift hand gliders over their Iron Dome wall. Okay. And yet this pager fiasco apparently was like planned for years. They intercepted like I think Taiwanese shipment of pagers to Hamas and put explosives in them and sent them to Hamas.
Which objectively may be one of the coolest military strategies that ever happened.
Sure, but it's like, just wait,
to take a step back.
You did that, and yet I'm supposed to believe that while Netanyahu is being investigated and about to be ousted from presidency, magically October 7th happens, and now you don't want like a change in regime and inconsistency in the response to Hamas. So of course people are going to be content leaving them for the time being. And obviously, tell me these aren't connected. That you don't see like how this makes no sense. That this wasn't planned. That like they
like
knew.
the way he says
Harbor.
Like, the way he explains how like primitive it is to just jump in with like hang gliders or whatever. It's like, yeah, nowadays I think they're more like on defense for I think they that type of threat wouldn't even be a threat. It'd be like, so we swatted some flies.
The guys on the wall should just
moved
shot
away.
them. It should have been no problem. And yet they do
They
this
all had to
like
go to the
James
bathroom,
Bond
Angus.
covert pager plan. And it's like, this doesn't add up. It sounds like October 7th was rigged, that they let their own people die for the regime in power. That's my point. And
Man, I don't buy any media or like any kind of war assessment that I see on the news. I don't know what's true. I just don't believe what I see.
That's where I'm at now too.
With all the Israeli shenanigans, all right, I saw him. Glenn Beck's like just groveling on his hands and knees. I want to be Israeli. You don't have to give me the perks. I just want to be a Jew.
What are you talking about?
Glenn Beck has said this repeatedly on The Blaze.
I didn't know. That's
he's
weird.
a Mormon groveling to Israel, wanting citizenship. It's like, what? Like,
that's a little strange.
Yeah. All right. And then, October 7th happens. Eric July goes on and like preposterously compares his own plight to like as a miniature Hamas attack on him.
Serious?
Yeah. He literally was like saying like, I am.
They're talking about Israel and like the conflict there, and then he like is like, yeah,
people are just going to hate you to hate you. I'm going to do that my own way. I'm not going to get into that, but I know what that's like. And so that's the meme of like, I am Israel. Eric
That's
July.
funny.
Well, like he says, I'm not comparing myself to Israel, but I mean that is what he was doing though.
I would love to talk to that guy because I have no ill will, but that's funny.
He is an Israeli op by The Blaze to
Oh, somebody got Angus.
To undermine they put anthrax in my tea. They don't like me saying the truth.
No, it's just that family getting revenge on you for messing up their microwave and milk. Trying to get back at you.
Oh man, they poisoned I just got a bottle of milk today.
Especially since you're Black Angus, you're cow based. You disgrace the holy animal.
Oy vey, a cow ingesting milk. Oh no.
Ginger a cow.
That would be terrible.
Stereotyping ginger cows is terrible.
Ginger cows. Stupid people. I love that twist with Van Halen, like heals the world.
Yeah,
Van Halen is pretty awesome.
I love that. Was that South Park episode where they unite the Middle East?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Middle East unite. Van Halen.
Well, they have the different symbols,
Yeah,
the cross and the crescent.
Ain't talking about love kicks in. My favorite part is the one guy going, "No way, no way."
Yeah, epic. It's a stick.
How have they not been got? How have they not been killed? How is someone? No, South Park guys. How's no one like bombed their fucking studio or something?
So just in the episode we watched, season 3 or 4, the Christmas one we were watching, where it's just a bunch of musicals in that episode. When he gets to Mr. Garrison, he's like, if I, he's all talking about, let's go to the silly Middle East. I would say something and say, hey there, Mr. Muslim, it's Jesus' birthday. Something. You fucking celebrate. Put down your heathen ass. And, like he's like disgracing all these cultures, like just one by one. Going, it's Merry fucking Christmas, man. It's celebrate Christmas.
Funny.
It's Jesus, stupid heathen. It's like,
Which is funny because he's gay and trans.
They make him super right wing. Yeah,
pretty much. He's like the most hardcore, pretty much. Well, they make him Trump in the latest season.
Yeah,
so
those were funny.
They make Mr. Garrison Trump.
Which is funny. It's showing how even the South Park guys are like libtard hacks bought by corporate media.
Pretty much. They're funny though.
Man.
They're like the most funny of all of them. So there's that.
Which is funny. Like even these guys have Trump deranged, which is crazy. You would never expect that from them. You think they'd see like,
but
the
at
value.
least, but with them, they don't have only Trump deranged syndrome. They will hit everybody. So compared to everyone else,
it's weird seeing their track record with their content, how like even-handed they are to be critical of both ways, but then
that's
they
what
still
I'm saying.
fell
It's
in. That's what's
I'm saying,
weird.
though. It's rare to have a leftist actually have nuance, I guess, like that. to be like,
Well,
I can
yeah,
make
well,
fun
they're
of
not-
ourselves too. And it's like,
well,
I
that's
wouldn't
the
call
thing
them.
is
They're like
they're
Vito.
liberals. They're not
Yeah.
leftists.
I'd say
yeah.
they're like Vito,
Right.
the liberal. They're not leftist because, yeah, Vito's the same way. But then he gets caught with, like the team guy points of like he can't ever actually criticize his side, sort of, unless
Yeah.
it's convenient.
Honestly, I'm never good at definitions with this stuff because people switch from one to the other.
Yeah.
Everybody labels something left or right wing or liberal or not and conservative not. And I'm like, I don't know what these words mean anymore. Honestly,
That's
so,
what confused
I
me
don't know, man.
about Dev's video where he always tries to take like a centrist view, which whatever, that's fine. But then by the end, he's talking about, yeah, we need to adopt like that art is political, like art is all political. It's like, well, dude, that's not a centrist opinion. That's not
Right,
a liberal.
Yeah, I've seen this discourse about like
That's
people
interesting.
drawing like anime girls eating Burger King. It's like, and they'll be like,
Yeah.
how is this political? And some people are like, well, and it's like,
It shows the
Well, obviously,
stupidity
they're
of the
trying to sell.
argument.
They're trying
Exactly.
to make America. They're trying to make America fat, and then it's about medical bills because you need
Yeah.
to pay.
Or
for
they're like, oh, it's
diabetes or
about
something.
imperialism
It's just
when
like,
America
what?
won, and then
It's
that's
the
how the
fashion
burger came over.
industry. They're wanting you to be fat.
All it shows is that if you're an academic moron, you can make anything.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a good way to put it. Yeah, you can
I would
turn anything
say-
into anything.
I would say that there is an inherent political aspect to art in the sense of like the complexity of art of a culture reflects their like standing in the world at that time based on politics. Like, what would be example? I'm trying to think of something good that's not like just now. Like the
paintings?
Renaissance art, famous painters. Like there's obviously, even though there's also these like, you know, duchies and stuff, these little micro countries at the time fighting. There's there's like
entire kingdoms.
Sure, too, but there's like you'll get like Italy. It's like, oh, this was like the Duchess of blank. Like who's that famous actress in like the 50s who got married to like a prince or something, but there's like a tiny little spot in Italy.
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
Grace, it's like Grace something, Grace Kelly or something.
Grace, oh, she was beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, she got married till she was like royalty, and she like
Yeah.
died of like, I don't know, aneurysm or something.
Audrey Hepburn's dad was a fascist.
Hell
Like
yeah.
an outspoken, I think he was English. They weren't from England, but he like got arrested and stuff. He was like he was awful. Like he just ditched his family for the fascist cause. Like literally, she's got a crazy story. She was like starved as a kid and stuff.
Hey,
Anyway.
what's up, JD? The
Anyway.
Black Overlord. I don't know how I feel about the Black Overlord, and then you say, "There's my friend Black Angus."
Yes.
Huh.
He's like, are you the overlord of me or
Yeah.
He's like, JD's like, they respected me for doing it.
But no, I love it because he's the dark black overlord. He's not
Oh,
just.
well,
the
I'm a
black.
light skin, so
Like
He's the
Ethiopian.
dark
doesn't
black.
count.
You're not.
I
You're
don't-
not.
like I
You're not
said,
what I'd call dark black.
I'm not a darky.
Oh, is that what you call Rook? Can I get your gradient? Can I see Rook's gradient
I
scale?
mean, I come up
Can you
with it
break
as I
it
go.
out? I would
I
love
come
to
up
see
with it. I come up with it as I go. You know, so I never heard dark black said before, and now
You get,
I have.
you
and
get
now
Angus up here, and you
and
get
now I
Wesley
get it.
Snipes at the bottom.
He'd be lower than Angus, or like he'd be higher. The top is where it's lighter, and then you lower you go darker. So there you go.
I love there's this random, I don't know what the context of the episode was, but I remember Looney Tunes where it's like, I don't know if it's Elmer Fudd or I think he's going to Africa. He's like flying like a little propeller plane,
God.
and it's like Africa, dark Africa, darker Africa. It's like really dark.
Heart of darkness.
It's so stupid.
It's pretty good.
That reminds me of Blazing Saddles. They're darker than us.
I really hate Mel Brooks.
Funny,
But
I think-
that's like a tolerable movie, but like I had a friend, I guess he's out in theaters again recently. He's like, "Hey, we go see Blazing Saddles." I was like, dude, I just saw it within the last year. I don't ever want to see it again. Like, it's fine. It's fine. I get it, but I don't ever want it to be like edited or removed and censored.
dumb.
But Mel Brooks kind of sucks.
Yeah, I haven't
like
seen it yet. I only know of the where's the
Dude,
white
it's
women
funny.
at?
Yeah,
Joke.
what a white
That's
woman
the only-
is.
that's the only one I
Yeah,
know.
I think it's more fun if you've never been exposed to it, but it's like I already have way more racist humor than that movie. So it's like watching Dora. You know,
You're like, oh, this is their first steps. How cute.
Yeah.
That's but no, like that topic, I don't get triggered a lot, but that topic of art being politicized, that sets me off. And I don't argue with people, I don't yell, but I don't mind a debate. Like I don't mind standing ground and talking to people because like I'm not gonna go talk shit about them later. Like you know what I mean?
Wait, no, you
Right.
get what I mean. That there is like arguably an inherent political aspect to art's ability to be made. That like, is there any real piece of art that is known from China when the Japanese were raping all of them and taking over, like Manchurian stuff?
Well, my argument
You
there
know what I
would
mean?
be,
That,
yeah,
like the instability or stability of a government is reflected through the art of its people.
well, there's two things. First of all, art precedes and transcends politics. Like it can be made without politics. It can be made by a single individual without culture and without politics. So that's the start. It's not.
Yeah, I was imagining
It doesn't
cavemen
lean
type
on
of
it.
things, like
Yeah, or just
a
a child or a
compulsion
person.
to make
Yeah.
something. They realize they can do something with their hands, and then can make something out of it without any
Yeah.
idea, any other intention. Then I'm just making something.
Right, but they're a product of a tribe, which is a group of families, which is the starting point of
Well, they
government.
can be. That's what I'm saying is art doesn't require that.
Okay.
It doesn't require it. A person born in the woods, no human interaction, can make art. So art does not require politics. That's a starting point.
I feel like at that point, like if you were to even like say that like a pack of wolves have politics in their thing, I'd be like, well, then the definition of politics is just stretched.
Well, that's another
in terms
thing.
of art. In terms of art,
I was about to interject that. I don't have a problem with like the summation, like this topic. Not saying you brought it, but I'm saying I don't have a problem with like this assessment, but it's more like what is the intent of this assessment? That's where I'm like,
oh, from my standpoint,
no, not you. Just saying like whoever first made this a thing. It's like
I can tell you that it was a progressive, probably communist idea to make art all political, and the reason I know that is because that's what the communists and the fascists did. That'll be my argument. The fascists believed everything in the state, nothing outside the state. The communists also believe that, and they almost won't say it. And what's funny is Dev actually makes that point before he flip flops on it.
Like who's Dev? Is this the
short fat otaku guy? Yeah, that's his real name or whatever name that he goes by is Dev. And like I got nothing against the guy. It was just a really stupid video. And I am going to respond to it later. But if art is inherently political, it means everything is political. And it also means art is inherently religious, because religion plays a bigger part than politics does on humans. It also means art is, based on their logic, it also means all art is sex and all art is food, because sex is required for you to exist. Therefore, all art is sex. That is the logical thinking of all art is political. Because politics exists and affects people, therefore affects art, all art is political. It's a terrible argument.
I would ask at this point. I'd ask, what does political mean at this point?
Exactly.
If we're saying like, because then it's like, well, what is art at that point too?
Yeah.
I'd be like, define these two terms, because otherwise, I don't know.
But based on their argument, politics is God, because it births everything and it defines everything, and art is nothing. I would argue politics is the means by which society enforces its way of itself, its way of it wants to be itself. Culture comes before politics, and religion comes before culture, and the individual comes before all of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot about like biology and base. It's like, what is the origin of? I was in this entomology class when I was in college.
Yeah,
I did one. There's bugs, obviously, and the next one was more of just like it's in the entomology curriculum to take if you wish as an elective, but it's not a bug class. It was just a loose science kind of a philosophy science class. It's like, what is the mechanism of like religion, etc. And it's talking about like, this is where I kind of come from. It's like, I think fear, death, those are like the cores.
And I would love to have a 4-hour talk with you on that topic.
Yeah, I don't have necessarily depth on this, but it opens
I would
the door
love to
for
figure it out with you.
Yeah, because it really left a nugget in my head of like, oh, they're really getting to a point here, because like when you talk about this art thing, it makes you think of it, because unless there is no food, you're not going to make art when you're starving.
Well, you can't exist without it.
Well, I mean, like say
Yeah.
Auschwitz, where like people might scribble something on paper or on the wall or something before they
Mhm.
die, because there's no other means. So it's like the recognition of your functions has to be addressed or accepted at the state they're at before art can be made. So
Mhm.
I think there is something about art where it's like it's not exactly intrinsic before these other functions. You know what I mean? Like it is a it's downstream from like the core essence. It's like before the caveman made enough of a society and ideas collectively to paint ideas on the wall and their history or their stories, whatever, they had to go hunt the mammoth or the bison and sustain themselves before they thought like, oh, I got some free time, I got enough food, hey, how about I doodle on this wall?
See, that I push back on. I don't think art is a byproduct of those collective ideas. I think art, and the reason I say this is because this is how it used to be believed. Art used to be considered a divine inspiration, like the what's the word I'm looking for?
Well-
the muse, like trying to, and before the idea of the muse, according to Muse, it was a direct download from a monotheistic god or pagan polytheistic gods. And that was the view up until about
100 years ago.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to appeal to history. I'm just saying there seems to be more collective thought towards that and more acceptance towards that. And that's what I believe. Because like as an artist and like seeing it and studying it, it does not make sense in studying anthropology. Like humans do this more naturally than they do almost anything else.
Right. But
Yeah.
then I get into kind of my biologic take where it's like, well, look at animals that are creative, that like birds with their nests, they try to grab blue for it.
Well, I was actually about to bring an animal example up like that, like with spider. I was going to bring up spider webs, where some people would say that a spider's web is art in a way. Like, would that be defined under the category of art, or is it just does that matter at that point?
I think only humans make art. I think art is a divine inspiration of the it's an incarnation of the transcendent.
Well, because I was going to go on with Angus's point too, with hunting to get animals. I mean, they need to find a way to get to kill the saber tooth or something to get their food or whatever you want to say to kill the mammoth. Well, how do they do that? They don't just use their bare hands. They got to craft a tool. In a way, is crafting the tool, would you say a spear is a work of art? Or not?
I would call it maybe creative. I don't know if I'd call it art. Like I would argue
its function is to kill the thing, but then after they made that one spear, they could make another spear that's a little different, a little more honed in. And at that point, they're mastering the tool. It may not be with the intention to have it be fun, but is that the point of art as well? Like
I think the point of art is to incarnate the divine.
I don't know what you mean by that.
The transcendent. The idea of that which is not into being.
Okay.
I know that's a vague answer, but that is up until maybe 100 years ago what art has always been seen as.
Well, like it's funny because like I think me and Ricky are accidentally on the same track of mind. It's like we look at certain like songbirds, like the certain spiders that do these very strange, well-timed musical like vibrations and stuff, mating rituals. That only comes after they have secured their food and that they're safe, or there seems to be some sort of like awareness of this is unsafe, this is a distraction. But it's like like they could just fuck, but they have to do this whole mating ritual. They have to like seduce the woman usually for in some way, and it's at their own possible demise, because usually the males have to be attention grabbing, and sometimes the attention is like scary to some predators, but then it's also like an invitation, like, hey, what's that? Oh, that's food.
Yeah,
And so
sometimes the both thing is a display of strength.
And so I think it's like there is an art intrinsic to animals, but again, it's only after their basic functions are
Well, I mean, I was gonna say, so like if humans didn't, so like let's go back to the dinosaurs. Humans aren't around, and let's just say a Craposaurus makes something really neat somehow. I don't know, just something makes something that humans would probably call like amazing for whatever things.
A better example for you, Ricky: termites and their mounds. Some of them are profound.
Right. Something like that. Like, does art require a human to recognize it as art?
No, I don't believe any of that. I don't believe in the subjectivity of human engagement with the world. And the reason I don't is because that's also another progressive / enlightenment idea of, or I should say postmodern idea. It's a stupid thing of, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around here, does it make a noise? Like, yes, of course. Even from a scientific standpoint, we know those vibrations exist. It makes that noise.
Right.
And what I'm saying with all that is this weird idea of the obsession of that humans define reality, and we'll get into like the trans stuff, like what is a woman, and like, well, the term, it's always an argument of terms and a social construct. It's like, no, these things existed before we had words for them. We made words for them because they existed. Like music destroys that argument. Birds make music, and we know for a fact that music is an arrangement.
Certain whales and aquatic life also sort of do that sort of thing.
Exactly, and it's not just sounds. Like, this is an organization of sound waves and air pressure to a certain time.
Sorry, I was laughing at the whale thing because I was just thinking about, I don't know if you're here for this, but we found this article that was very funnily written by the New York Post on purpose. The first time they've recorded whale sex in the wild, at least with this species, it was like possibly gay rape of like a dying whale. and so I was thinking about, like, the Greeks, they made up mermaids and stuff, these fictions, these myths, because they don't know what they're listening to with the whale singing, so they're making personifying these ideas, and and then people know what it is, and like, oh, it's so wondrous, the majestic whale, and it's beautiful,
and it's something.
And then it's actually, but then these same people will like detest like rap and like wet ass pussy and my pussy pink, my booty hole brown, the Pound Town song, where it's like just so perverse and vulgar. But then it's like, what if like the whales and the birds are actually like, I got the biggest fucking dick, get on this shit, bitch, like.
Right.
If we're just misinterpreting the majesty, it's like they're vulgar as fuck. They're like dolphins. They're just horny. They just want to blow everywhere.
That's all they're doing.
but to answer your question though, like, even the things, like, even if we had to say socioeconomic factors or natural factors had to be met for art to be made, which I don't believe, and I think human history shows that those things aren't necessarily inherently political either. Politics is the means of enforcement of a society's standards. It's not society, it's not culture, and it's not humans.
Yeah.
And that's the argument of like, you've seen the quartering meme where it's like Star Wars, and then it's like new Star Wars, and it's going him like, you made it political.
And it's got a black guy. He's like, you made it political.
Yeah, but the sad thing is, like, that argument is true. Like, many things are made political, and Dev opens up he gives the example that Anita Sarkeesian would be like, she could give and this is where he falls apart. He's like, oh, she would say something like, Mario is political because it reinforces the heteronormative hierarchy, and our answer should be, yes, it does, and that's good. It's like, no, Dev, like, that's not how that works. Mario is just a story.
I was thinking how she says things. I remember seeing some of her videos. She'd be like, this one person who helps out the main protagonist is just a glorified keyhole or key or something.
Yeah,
is what she'd like say that. It's just like, okay, it's weird, but all right.
Yeah, Princess Peach, her hole is the goal, right?
Yeah, but no, like she's saying like a Zelda
we don't
game
know,
or
like,
something else where it's like, oh no, she like the female
Yeah.
character helps the protagonist by opening doors.
Oh,
It's
good for
essentially-
her.
It is like, but she'd like describe it just a glorified doorman or something. Door
Well,
opener.
it's like it's that
okay.
reductionist crap, and it's like it's okay. That's one way to read it, but
Yeah, it's
tell
like the hero can't progress unless she opens the door. So they both kind of need each
Yeah.
other to do anything. So
Well, it's like,
yeah.
okay, so that's what you got from that. Well, guess what? A schizophrenic gets voices from a lamp. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean the voices are there. It doesn't mean that lamp is inherently like speaking.
I love lamp.
Yeah, it's this asinine idea that because I can make an argument for it, that argument must be true.
Right.
And that's what all of the art is political argument always comes down to. Because I can extract a political idea that I can see in it, that must mean it's true. It's not. And I even got into it today, and like I said, I hold no ill will, but he just couldn't get it. It was like oh, because I said, politics comes from culture. He goes, well, if politics comes from culture, that means culture is political. No, it means politics is cultural. Like politics rises out of culture, and culture rises out of religion. And by religion, I mean religion or philosophy. Like you have to have a set of morals.
So the culture, where's the culture come from?
Culture comes from a shared belief, which I would call religion, which is why it's historically called religion. We could call it philosophy, but you can't have a culture without shared belief.
But where does that come from?
That I don't know. That's a weird answer. That's a weird question.
I was going to say, I could see how this is.
It comes from human. To get from a materialist view, a scientific materialist view, it comes from humans. That's the easiest way to say it. We either make up a god to have a shared belief, or
based on what
God
you
exists.
Based on what you just said, a shared belief. I interpreted that as they believe that they need to plant seeds that fall from the tree into the ground and have water. Like, okay, we got to work together around this time of year. Something happens, so we're making a culture out of this, or they do a ritual around it because they're not sure what causes it, and then they're whether or not they know there's something.
Well, no, and that's how a lot of old societies were.
way.
This place, why a lot of places were sacred. This place gives us the eggs. This place gives us water. This place gives us apples, whatever. And then you build up a myth system around it, and then you determine. This is the politics, how to enforce that culture perpetually by restricting behaviors that damage it or go against it.
You throw a rock at the sacred tree, we'll kill you.
Exactly.
Or we'll just cut your hand off. Or you don't get to have any apples from that tree. Something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's how you enforce the rules of that society, of that culture. Art takes precedence before that step ever happens. And even when that step has happened, art still takes precedence over it. It's not needed. Now it can incorporate, and it can, but if you say that because politics influence it, because it happens to exist at the same time as you, that means religion does too. That means all art is religious.
At that point, I'd be like, why are we even discussing anything?
Exactly.
If this is what we do. Like if it was the same thing of like, what's the meaning of life? Well, I don't think there is any. I don't know.
The whole point of this is to create a dialectic, which is what Dev fell for. To you admit that it's political so that they can use political force against it. If you admit that art is political, that means you can be politically forced for any kind of speech. It means all of human behavior is subject to the state. And Angus, and this is my argument with that, like people treat politics like it's this big overarching thing, but you were raised Catholic. In our society, religion has a bigger sway over individuals than politics does.
Yeah, it used to. I think politics maybe filling the void of a.
I think politics has become a religion.
Yeah, it's filling a void. I think maybe a lot of people lament this, be like, oh, you know, you and your neighbor could disagree and have an argument, and then shake hands and be friends. It's like, yeah, well, before it was like I'm voting for the tax, or I'm voting against the tax. I'm pro union. I'm anti. It was just economic, but you're all on the
supposedly.
You're all collectively on the same team of even if it's like I don't want us to go. We already had World War I. That was a waste of time. Why we get involved in Europe? I don't want to be. And America felt that way. until Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And so that's, and so no one, I don't think there's any real ill will to the like one senator or representative that voted against the declaration of war against Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a principle take. And I don't think anyone like gave a shit for it.
Yeah.
And yet now politics is like, I'm for the state putting a gun in your face if you don't wear a mask. I'm for, or it's like, if you're on the right, it's like, I want the state to criminalize you if you get an abortion.
It's always giving the state more power.
Sure, but I think the arguments have become, I think the reason why you're getting this like religious fervor behind politics is because there's actually like pertinent topics that have now, I guess been turned over to the state as a question.
Well, I know you've told me in messages, if I can bring this up, or we've discussed Orrin McIntyre before. He wrote a book called The Total State. And like I said, I'm not really familiar with his work, but I checked it out. I haven't read the book yet, but he does a lot of work regarding that, basically detailing how the state has gotten more and more power through these kind of scuffles and through these kind of beliefs, like you're saying.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's like, oh, we used to be friends in regards to our politics, and now we can't. It's like, I think that's a good thing because of what's being argued. But I haven't really thought about that aspect of like, oh, we've all collectively turned this over to the state. And, I argue that when I was a kid, like I understood that Obamacare was like, regards to for socialized medicine, it's like, well, when you turn over, like if you're pro, like it was like my secular reasoning being against abortion, generally. I've kind of changed now, given where society is like, maybe we should abort those people, keep the numbers in check. But you say like Obamacare, it's like, oh, you're for abortion, for the right to choose. It's like, well, if the government has control over healthcare, they can deem you, well, you're going to get euthanized because you're just a liability economically. Well, you shouldn't have more kids because you've already had 2, so you're going to get the abortion. It's like these.
That's what China did.
These retards don't get what they're letting go of when they're voting for it, and so it's like, I think it should be. Again, China is my example. Where it's like, they're in a real conundrum societally because they're having to import lesser Asians as far as they're concerned. Vietnamese, Thai, whatever, Koreans. They're having to import these other lower Asian women to fill the gap of all the aborted.
Because they destroy their own society.
And because the society has collectively adopted the one child policy, it's now just culturally accepted. It's not even enforced. Now the state's trying to upend that and encourage children, and they don't know how to like change the culture back. And so it's like, it's very interesting.
More anime, I'm sure. Some can.
Well, and I see this like, like it's a problem for me, entertainment stuff, where it's like I'm arguably too invested in stuff. I think this entertainment stuff, all of our gripes and stuff, like the reason they're not shutting down someone like Arcade Outpost or Geeks and Gamers for their hate speech by YouTube standards is because they shut them down. You're going to shut down the dialectic argument of this distraction. You're not arguing about taxes and your rights. You're arguing about they put a black woman in something. And they'd rather have you be distracted by that. And society will kind of typecast you by corporate mandate that like, oh, you're a bigot. But no one really cares because you're not arguing about, do you see what they're doing to Alex Jones?
That was an argument. I forgot who made it, but it was like a lot of the woke stuff happened right after Occupy Wall Street.
Oh yeah. That was like a leftist Tea Party movement, which was pretty cool. It's like, up in the fucking the state cronyism with big business, and that was a leftist movement.
And then suddenly people that weren't part of it suddenly have funds, and they're coming in and they're dividing people by race and sex and stuff, and the movement's done. Like it's eating itself.
Which is funny though, because if you watch Dark Knight Rises, that's very obviously Chris Nolan responding to Occupy Wall Street and villainizing.
Well, it was, and I didn't realize this the other day, but like it is a continuation of Ra's al Ghul's plan, because he did say the economics was how they were going to try to break Gotham. and through basically a Marxist separation of the classes and agitation. But see, that's the thing that's the thing people don't forget. Like progressives, left or right, their whole thing is agitation. Their whole thing is accelerating what they call the contradictions, and that's what this all art is political thing is to hype up, make it political, make everything political, so they can argue it politically, so they can use political force. That's what it always has been, and that's why the fascist response in World War II was literally their signal was, or their slogan was, "I don't give a damn," and they responded with force. That's where it comes from, and that's what I think Dev doesn't quite realize. It's like, man, if you play this game, you have to respond with force, and you've lost at that point. And this is like, I'm not trying to be serious. It's like, but just, I don't know. For me as a person, I don't like seeing humanity suffer. I don't like seeing people fucking depressed. Like, that runs in my family. Like, I've seen mass depression and anxiety, and there's nothing more depressing to me than people saying all art is political. It's like, no, art is an expression of the human spirit. It's a touch of the divine. It's a historical human thing that precedes and transcends politics. You will not drag it down to politics while I'm around. Like,
au
you know
contraire, mon frere.
Yeah, like it's not. It is.
Speaking
I can't
of
get beyond that.
Speaking of political art, Nerdrotic shared this.
Oh no.
Elrond just made out with his future mother-in-law, Galadriel. Amazon hates Tolkien. And I'm just like, nice.
How's that incestuous? Future mother-in-law.
It's not incestuous, it's just weird.
Yeah, it's weird, but
right. It's taboo.
It's
See, but this is where I agree with you. This is where I agree with you guys. Like, why even comment on this and watch it?
Well, the idea is to cast light upon the evildoers.
Yeah.
I
believe me, I did that with the Acolyte. Believe me, I get it, but do it in a good way instead of these little soundbite tiny little things. Give me a reason why it's wrong, not just that it's bad against Tolkien. Why is it being against Tolkien wrong?
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, deconstruct.
Think it through
Tolkien.
a little
it's
bit.
Funny. Tolkien was a fucking little fairy boy in the trenches with his fellow comrades, and that's what Frodo and Sam are. They're a hidden gay romance in
They are
plain
not
sight.
gay, Angus.
They're totally gay, especially in the movies. Super fucking gay.
No,
even though it's good,
Elijah Wood is just soft. That's all it is.
No, it just you watch that, it's very if Jackson was like, oh yeah, if he came out and was like, yeah, we wanted to layer a homosexual tryst between them.
Good word. Good use of the word tryst.
And it's like if he said that arbitrarily now, 20 years later, be like, I see it. It's obviously you can interpret you interpret it as a gay budding romance of comrades in arms.
This reminds me of an SNL sketch of 300 where Gerard Butler is talking with the Spartans and stuff before they go to the final battle, and he's talking with them. And then they're like, "Yeah, let's talk about the don't say gay bill." And he's like, "All right, well, it's not like any of you guys are gay, are you?" They're like, yeah, sure. And then he's like, wait, so when we have all our bats naked together, you're like, yeah, there's some gay reasons. And he's like, and what about when you oil me every other night before battle naked, and what about all the sex? That was also for gay purposes.
It's funny. Actually, I don't know if you saw this post. Maybe you did, Dan.
Was it you?
Yeah. It was.
You made a funny gay Spartan post. That's all. Yeah.
Wait. What was? We might be confusing what we're thinking about. What were you saying was my gay Spartan thing? The Thebes nuts thing that you responded to?
Yeah, that was funny.
that cracked me up because I did not even see that joke there. I'm like, oh, it's so obvious. I hate when I miss an obvious spin like that. That was good. But no, I'm reading a book about the Theban Sacred Band, which was a exclusively 150 gay couple unit of Thebes that became an elite force for about 40 years. I'm about a third of the way through the book now. I'm a slow reader, but I thought it was very interesting because in the modern day, reading about Greece, it's like I get annoyed when I see these like antiquities channels and they'll respond to like, was gay, were they gay in Greece? And they'll like make this whole thing about like, oh, look, all these philosophers were like anti-gay, they're homophobic, obviously. Like, no, gays was like demonized or looked down upon. And then I then I read about like the first translation of one of these books in the modern day, like Oxford, and this historian is like very troubled by these lines of like male love, and it's obviously gay, and so he like edits it. And then this other guy, I think Walt Whitman maybe, put out like a collection, and he had like one of these Greek poems, and it's like obviously gay, but he had to like edit the line and stuff. And so it's like they knew 200 years ago there was a lot of gay shit in Greece across not just Sparta but multiple city states up to Macedon. So basically the whole of Greece had like
whole of Greece
a permissiveness, if not an acceptance.
The whole of Greece sounds kind of gross if you think about that. Like,
Greece is the word.
Greasy hole of Greece. Oh man.
But yeah, I shared this page. I thought it was very interesting in my reading so far. So it says, this chapter is Philosophers in Arms. At much the same time that George Ledwell Taylor discovered the line of Chaeronea, the early 19th century was discovering, or rather acknowledging, that sexual love was not all of one kind. No word yet existed for men who loved men or women, and no public discussion had taken place. Thanks to Greek texts from the age of the sacred band, and thanks to the band itself, male eros first became visible to those who did not know it at first hand. Plato's Symposium and Phaedrus, with their candid discussions of the passions of Erostai and Eromenoi, which is like older and younger lovers, were the primary sources of this revelation. But the tale of the sacred band played its part as well, since Plato's Symposium mentions an army of male lovers similar to the band. It's often hard to tell which he is being referred to. The Spartans, too, loomed large in the consciousness raising. For Greek sources told of state-sponsored love bonds between older and younger soldiers in the Spartan army. It surprised 19th century scholars that in all three cases, at Athens, Sparta, and Thebes, male eros was seen as a source of moral virtue and military strength, the opposite of what their biased age expected. German classicist K.O. Müller was among the first to confront this seeming paradox. And the chapter starts going on about how like they kind of purposely obfuscate this because they can't handle like, what, they were gay the whole time? All these guys I venerate, these cool chads taking over, they were gay? What? So it's like, yeah, legitimately, like that's like the string. And that's what's very interesting to me with like the LGBT of today, where it's like there's like no masculinity to it. It's like only promoting like effeminate men. And then you see like all these different writings, these discussions, and it's like these are all like bros, you know. It's always irritated me to the idea of gay and then it being a feminist. Like if you're into guys, you should be like you should be aggro testosterone. You should be a fucking gorilla.
You mean like prison?
Sure. Although prison is like nuance because it's more of like, I call that prison gay, where it's like most of these guys probably aren't gay, but it's like they're making do with what's available, you know. Same with Muslims in a lot of their countries. They're not gay, they're just making do because they can't like date like in the West.
Who wants to date in the West?
Well, I just mean, you know, historically, you know, we've had the freedom of the sexes to like court in public and not be like having to hide and boink it behind a barn or something in between like activities or something, you know, sneaking off. It was there's an allowance that for romance in public versus like the Islamic world's mostly like arranged cases, unless you're wealthy or have a harem, you know. You can't date over there. You just kind of get set up with someone and hopefully she's not fucking ugly.
And she's over there saying, maybe hope he's not fat. How dare you be so male centric with your patriarchy?
So Tinder over there is basically the parents looking for a mate for their child.
Honestly, yeah, I wonder
Yeah,
if
it
they
works
even
pretty
have
well,
that.
actually.
Well, yeah, that's what's interesting too. If you do studies like the West, because of our love of democracy, which is another interesting with the Greeks and stuff, is like I was learning about the Byzantine Empire and what they argued about preserving of like the pagan past and the philosophers and stuff. And there's been a slant against Sparta and like strong military states. There's been this like weird slant for basically all of history to obfuscate Sparta and promote Athenian democracy, which is very interesting given like we've been indoctrinated for now 2,000 years with this shit. And as I see it, I'm like, yeah, democracy is a fucking mistake. I'm all with Nietzsche on these assessments. Like it's, you know, people lamenting where the republic's going. It's like, this is where it's going to go. What do you expect? Like, but no, I don't know. It's very interesting, but fuck, I'm trying to figure out how it's connected to the Muslims. The arranged marriage stuff. The arranged marriages. Yeah, there's like been studies that like arranged marriages, like they don't start great because they're kind of just put together against their will, but they actually last longer and are more fulfilling. Because like you have multiple levels of bonds outside of your control, kind of putting it together. Cultural, familial. Religious, familial, all kind of these are all shame mechanisms to actually make you stick it out, to make it work. And they
there's probably less sluts trying to go after the guys, or horny bros trying to go for other people's chicks or something.
Well, I mean, a lot of these states they have hooker. All these states with arranged marriage, they have like hookers and stuff. So there's like there's like an exhaust system.
So before you get married, make sure you get one of those hookers. Is that the idea? Or
I mean, maybe while you're married, but it's like a way to it's not morally right if religious aspect, but it's one of those like, yeah, just let them have some fun.
You've got to have standards. You can't have liberal atomization if you want to hold a culture together.
Yeah, right. And that's kind of the root of democracy in my view. It's like this is always going to fall apart.
Yeah,
you can't be so strict like Sparta. Like there's a lesson to be learned. That's why Rome works well, because they kind of figured out both forms. That's why they made fascism. They have this great like state idea that permeated this culture.
Yeah, they worship the state.
Multi-ethnic, and then also I think what helps too is the polytheism of the like, for it's one thing for like the Jews to write about Baal worshippers. Baal, not balls, but for Rookie, he doesn't know Baal.
I know Baal because of Stargate, so you're welcome.
Oh, okay. But yeah, they did child sacrifice to this god.
Yeah.
So of course he's reviled by the Jews in the Bible, but even the Romans hated the Carthaginians and despised them. And this is arguably maybe blown up more for propaganda, but it was a fact of life for the Carthaginians. To some extent, they would sacrifice babies to Baal. It makes sense. That's like the greatest sacrifice to give, to a god, honestly. So there's a logic to it, but it's heinous for almost every society. And but yeah, like outside of like things like Carthage, Rome was open to everything. Mithras. That's why Christianity took over so easily, because the military had like a male-centric cult of Mithras, and Jesus, what we know of Mithras, very much matches him. So it's like, oh, it's probably like a 1-for-1, just like they would go to Egypt, they'd find a god and be like, oh, we call him that in Rome.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a synergy. I think that's how Christianity took over, was through the military, through Mithras. That's my assumption from what I've put together so far. On top of Constantine enforcing it. And
well, he didn't enforce it. He just made it not illegal.
Well, no, he institutionalized it. And they had a war, painting the crosses on their shields because of his supposed vision. It all goes back to him murdering his wife in a sauna, and the Romans didn't have forgiveness for murder, but Jesus does. So it seems like it's a very advantageous move to be Christian by Constantine. At least arguably, you could say it's like anti-Christian rhetoric pointing at it. I don't know. Again, all this is like, you have to, any source, you have to like try to think about the overall culture that's being written in. What does this guy not know about? What is he hiding? Like in the Theban book, Xenophon was Athenian, but he was like an honorary Spartan. His kids were in the Agoge.
Mm-hmm.
He really hated Thebes, and he basically wrote nothing about them if he could help it. So he basically ignores the sacred band and all their winnings until
it was he Constantine he legalized that it was Theodius that made it the official religion of the state.
I know it's tied to
Constantine,
Constantine.
yeah, Constantine opened the gate to it. No, but the Christianity. This is actually something I got into with people who always do like the Christian's a pagan holiday and all that kind of stuff, and like I don't care. Christianity is a totalizing religion. It only has 2 real sacraments. I know that sounds blasphemous to a Catholic, but
wait, what are those sacraments?
Baptism is one, and the Lord's Supper, communion, is the other one.
Oh, so marriage is not a sacrament? That's a sacrament in the Catholic Church.
Well, I know in the Catholic churches, but I'm saying broadly how culturally how it works is it can adopt any other kind of religious practice. Like it doesn't care that pagans used to worship a tree or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Sure,
it can
yeah.
it can adopt that. There's nothing in Christianity that's against that because it believes Christ is the preeminent God that all those other fake gods that they view are shadows of, basically.
Yeah, I view that happening as this is the insidious nature of Christianity, is that what works compared to other religions is that they've figured out how to, in some weird way, despite being a Jewish cult and having this baggage of that story, that Christianity is like very amoebus to the culture it inhabits.
Yeah, it believes in a greater culture that supersedes all other cultures.
Well, no, but I view that nefarious because what like the same logic that makes the Puritans can go totally fine and accept like Indian culture where like they dress as a Puritan would be concerned sexually promiscuous in their everyday attire, and that's totally fine because that's just their culture. And so they'll like Christianity has a good way of like blending with the culture. Like, well, that's okay over here, but over here, yeah, that's bad. We'll put you on the fucking stake for that. But
yeah, I think that's a mistake that people in the movement made, because if they had followed biblical teaching and the fathers, that wouldn't have been allowed. I think, but I think that is a key problem in the heart of evangelicalism. I think that's how the woke stuff spread through it, is because it tolerates too much. I think you're right about that.
Yeah, the Jesuits order has that problem. That's why there's never been a Jesuit pope until Francis, who was a commie from Argentina. And
I did know that. I do know he wasn't he part of like the Paulo Freire line or one of those guys, or the whatever, not Paulo Freire.
I have no idea what that is.
One of those. It was the red bishop or whatever they called it, the red cardinal. There was a communist bishop, and I don't think it was Freire. I forgot who it is, but yeah, I think this current pope studied with him or under him.
Yeah, well, like I don't know if I said this to you, but he's why I left Catholicism, because there's also like just kind of like late bloomer kind of, you could say, college awakening to like knowledge stuff. But I'm bi, but when I was Christian, it was like, let me pray that away or whatever, let me abstain, try to be holy. It's bad enough to fornicate with a woman, but no, man, that's naughty. Like that could never be redeemable, versus like you have a kid out of wedlock. Well, I can just get married and it's okay now, that logic, didn't leave for any of that. There was kind of scientific questioning of like creation story stuff that kind of opened the door. Like, well, that doesn't make sense with like genetics and stuff, etc. And then there's really the Pope when he's like, who am I to judge gay priests? It's like, you're the fucking Pope. Like,
yeah, like that's
you're
your
the seat
job,
of Peter. That's literally your job.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where it's like, at least now the Catholic Church's view of, which I agree with, it's like you can be gay in the Catholic Church, you just can't indulge. It's like your cross to bear. You have to be celibate. Maybe,
and that's an old argument. Yeah,
maybe you could be like people argued a lot of the gays in the 50s where they would have families and just hide in plain sight with their
and that sounds like a horrific existence,
right?
Yeah.
But like maybe that's permissible, but it seems like the rhetoric is just like, well, you're just gonna have to accept celibacy. And so I read this,
the straight priests have to do that.
Yeah, well, I read this sex book. It's very interesting. Sex book is about like different points in like. It's not really about like the function of sex.
It's about where you put it.
There's none of that. It's about like sex affecting society in weird ways, like how cereal in America came from like a weird Christian cult of like very paranoid about. Yeah, they're very paranoid about like sex and boners and masturbation. So they thought a well seasoned, tasteful menu led to eroticism, because they're probably looking at like Latin America and Africa and stuff, like, oh, they got all this good seasoning. Well, clearly that's causing them to have sex, you know, like, so they're like, we need to make graham crackers and Kellogg's and bland food. Bland food
delicious.
Will lead to muting your sexual desires. And he made a very, because I'm assuming this is a liberal guy writing this, but he wrote a very interesting thing about the Pope, because the Pope Benedict at the time was pushing no condoms in Africa, and all the, you know, AIDS people were like, what are you saying? And he's like, well, you should be like in a marriage. Like AIDS will stop if you like get married and aren't sleeping around. And it actually was working. So, yeah. But he talked about the gay priest thing, how it's like, well, when you have a celibate calling and you got people that feel guilty for their inclination, they think, well, I'll just be in the priesthood so that I can't do anything and I'm a-okay. But then they're human, they end up having urges, and who's around other gay priests also hiding from their sexuality. And then there's also sometimes you know, young boys that you can manipulate or I don't want to say manipulate, because people will go, well, yeah, it's gays or pedophiles. Like, no. But you know, you have like a young man to you know, might be questioning, you might like entice, and he's just a body around, you know. So it's like a perfect storm kind of. Now, that was very interesting. I need to find what that book was. Because like one of my interests of like, if I went for like an academic profession, got a degree, it's like sex therapist or like some sort of like sex psychology study. Because I think like sex is kind of key to humanity. Like you talk about art.
Is it?
Yeah, no, I really think no, not to like procreation.
I know,
mean,
I'm just trolling you, man.
Yeah, like our whole existence is kind of like, well, you get a job, you know, everything's kind of rooted in sex and like who you are, your identity, not in the sense of like modern sexual identity and preference and gender, not that, but like who you are is affected by male or female intrinsically, your thought patterns, how you look at things, how you assess things. I'm very interested on like a very neurotic level with like the effects of sex on humanity. That's one of the interests I've had. Like, but unfortunately, psychology is completely compromised with the woke weirdos.
I'll be right back. Give me a second.
But finally, Rookie, when Dan's coming back, bring up the grifter violence.
All right. Honestly, this whole time I was like, man, people are probably like, when the fuck are they going to talk about?
Well, we have been
grifter violence
off and on.
Jesus. Well, we touched on it for a second. Just like, nope. That's all good. Go. No. Yes. Yes. Nope, that's different. Hold on.
Bad.
I had
Show
different
me your
bookmarks
boobies,
up.
and I like them too.
Yes. Okay, that's the one. There we go. Different tab. All right. So there's a video game called Ghost of Shimashu. Just kidding. Shimisha. Right.
What? Tsushima?
Tsushima.
You watch anime more than me. You should know how to like pronounce it.
Yeah, but I don't read anime. I don't read anime books.
I don't read anime.
So,
you've adopted
sorry,
my,
you know. Yes. I kind of like that term for it. So that's pretty good. But no, apparently they made up though. They're cool. They're tight. But before that, it was kind of funny because she's just doing a normal tweet. Like, you know, why are so many dudes freaking out about Ghost of
I don't know what the new one's called.
Yatoe being a female protagonist? If story's good, what's the problem? Normal thing to ask, especially if you aren't as aware of stuff and know what's going on. Normal type of question. Not everybody's going to know. And then Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers went in with that, and he was saying quite a bit of stuff there that was getting. He's basically calling her like, "Yeah, you're crying about all these men and saying that no man has this or no woman thinks this." And it's like, oh shit,
I got to run, fellas. I don't want to interrupt your rook, but I'll catch you guys later. I got to take care of the kids.
No, right. Good, gotcha. Thanks for hanging around.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Farewell, hetero freak.
See you next time. That's good. But yeah, he's like, yeah, you know, he's fighting with people all the time. He's working on stuff. Yeah, sure. And he's like, you know, can we all just agree that Twitter is not to be taken seriously? It's a complete shit show where we just insult each other and get content for our YouTube channels. Not quite what I use Twitter for, but I get that's where a lot of content comes from for a lot of people, Twitter and interactions on Twitter. Maybe that's how I should try to do some stuff too, but I'm not great at that. And he even says, Grifter ain't easy, Angus, you know. The OG Modern Warfare lobby. Yeah. So there you go. Please screenshot this for references. He's encouraging you to do your research, Angus. So you know. As I'm scrolling up, this is just I just like the meme image regardless of the meme.
Yeah, it's like bread, garlic bread. Yeah,
it's just
classic.
Like,
classic
I love it. She's just like, she's got nice tits. It's like that. She's like, I'm stalking. Yeah, it's funny. It's a fat kitty cat.
Dude, you don't know how much I get sucked into cat wormholes on Twitter.
I know. There's so
I hate
many.
it. I'm like, I've been here an hour. What the fuck? I don't even
So
have a cat.
Yes. No, there's like these back and forths, and Anna, that Star Wars girl, came in and she was like, Nina said everything fine. You sound like you're hacked. And he's like, yeah, I'll remember that next time you complain about people bitching at you and you can see how consistent you are. And it's like, oh shit, we're having Jerry Springer fight up in here. And then earlier today, he's like, yeah, I mentioned it. Me and Nina are cool. Yeah, we can't disagreements, be friends, no hard feelings. Dang it. It's not as fun. That's not how you end a Jerry Springer episode. No. You gotta spit water in each other's faces and tear each other's weaves off. You know?
God, more cats.
Here's a big kitty.
Scroll.
Big line kitty.
Scroll.
No, he's a big kitty cat. He's getting fed like a bottle, like a baby. He's a big kitty cat. Oh, here's a little kitten.
Oh my god. You have a cat. Why are you getting sucked in?
Because they're cute. Look at this dog, he just wants a hug. She's working out. Give me a hug. Oh. Ah.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
No, when cats are cute, it like instantly just like sucks you in because they're asshole animals.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, he's being like a kitten. Or like when a big like husky just laying in the little kitten's trying to like nap at it.
Yeah,
and the dog's just like, whatever.
Kitty, stop it, you stupid animal.
You know, I really think about like, how do animals communicate? Because like you see these like especially interspecial connections, and it's like they're not barking or meowing at each other most of the time, and somehow they're like just, it's like, do they communicate? I know there's like physical nuance to like their eyes and like their whiskers and hair. I get all that. I get all that, but then there seems to be like an extra element we can't perceive. It's like, do they just communicate telepathically?
There's got to be some other sense where they go, you're not a threat to me, and you're actually chill. All right.
Yeah, because this happens in the wild once in a while. Like, I don't know if you've seen, they actually caught a monkey troop that had like a pet, like lesser monkey.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's very strange because it's like, it seems that only humans have pets, but then they caught one in the wild where it's like, yeah, this makes no sense because like a pet is like you have to care for it. It's like a baby, but it's not your progeny,
you're providing it. Well, I mean, there was also a lion. I'm sure you heard about this one, a lioness that kept on capturing baby gazelle, essentially, and not eating them, and actually kind of in a way starved herself by not having this. This is the problem though, because the little guys were trying to get away and eat and couldn't, so they would die. And she was also going kind of hungry too, because she wasn't like using the time to, anytime she'd leave it alone and try to get away. And so it just, but she wasn't like killing it or maiming it, you know. It was like, what is this animal, what is this lioness doing with this other species that it should have for food? You got breakfast right here. And it's like, no, I'm just not gonna do that.
It's probably like a weird mourning thing. Like she probably lost her cubs.
Yeah.
No,
Could
like
be.
that makes sense. But like, yeah, it was like I'm pretty sure it was like a male monkey was like breaking nuts, which is like exerting energy, and then just feeding this pet.
Well, you've seen those clips of chimpanzees with little baby tigers. They're cute, and
Right, but that's like
cats.
humans.
I know it's human.
Influencing.
I know.
That's different. Like it's
I know.
cute, but it's like,
Human
well, that's
pairing.
obviously a human impression on the animal to now do that because it's like,
Coco like picking animals and picking its cats to choose and have as pets. Yeah, that's impression. Yeah, if we were to just look at it uninfluenced by humans, yeah,
well,
you've
seen that video of like the coyote and the badger like running around the woods, and the coyote's like going through like a tunnel. And he looks back like, "Hey, come on!" And the badger's like, "All right, I'm coming." Like,
yeah, I think there's some animals too that I don't know if we'd call it, because I wouldn't call it under pet category at all, but like sometimes their symbiotic relationship can almost seem like the closest thing to like being friends or pets with stuff like the birds that eat out of the alligators' mouths, or the animals that eat on top of like buffalo or cows or something.
Yeah, it's like symbiotic.
It's symbiotic but it's like, in a way, it's like, okay, there's like at the base is there's an understanding of like, all right, you're not gonna kill me or try to eat me, right? Same with you. Yeah. And they're around. I don't know. Like if you were, I feel like if you were to just give a slight push, how much of friends would they be, and which one would be dominant over the other? Essentially, I'm imagining like a Timon and Pumbaa for some reason. Like the little guy is the boss of the freaking pig. It's like
dumb fat muscle.
How'd that happen? Like how'd that happen?
Yeah, especially pigs are kind of fucking mean in the wild. So that's a funny pairing because like meerkats are pretty cute and they're very social. So
and pigs are smart too, which is interesting.
I don't know. I wonder how smart they are in the wild because like we can influence them and like see that again goes with the art thing. Like I don't think about it in this way until Dan now it's like has that connection also, but like I think another aspect I've been interested in is like primatology. Especially because they're so like they are like a basis for us to kind of analyze our past selves and try to understand like our root functions and behavior and like what is like the intelligence spurt to where we're at, why are we different, what's different about us, all that kind of like
there's the intellect boom. There's the intellect booms essentially in our history.
Yeah, because they obviously have it. They make coalitions. They're political. They the beta orangutans rape the women during mating season to get in the gene pool. It's very obviously not consensual compared to when the women seek out the like howling big hooded alpha males. And then like chimps, very interesting enough, the more related they are, or the more they like beat on one female chimp, the more likely that her children are his kids. So there seems to be some sort of weird investment abuse dichotomy. Strangely enough, and like how does that apply to humans? Because we have like the same problem where women, like the battered wife, stays with her husband when he like beats her, and it doesn't make sense to logic,
Well, she's probably thinking no. It's like in the twisted way. It's the kind of like, well, at least I know he's beating on me and not another woman. He's mine.
There is that
like,
angle. Possibly
he thinks I'm special, so that's why he's beating me up or something.
Like also if you're getting like red pill like Rotomasti, he's talking about how it's a even though there's like an illogic to like your safety's in danger with this person, they might go too far, but it signals like, oh well, he is aggressive, he'll protect me.
Right.
It's like a weird warped signal for women. It doesn't go the other way. Same with like women falling for prisoners. Men don't do that.
True.
It's
story often.
Yeah, it's like you think most prisoners are either intrinsically violent or they become violent in their environment. But yeah, like I don't know, apes are tied with like smart animals, and we get like elephants or pigs to like paint or dogs to paint. It seems that domestication and the stability of domestication and they're not having to look for food. Like they still have the impetus. You know, like dogs when you feed them, they just instantly, you know. But like they know that they still look to you to like, all right, it's food time, right? Oh, you got more food, like. They seem to know that they're covered, even though they still are gluttonous wolves in their mind. And then you see like these videos where like a dog is like, "Hey, what's going on, dog?" And he's just like, like he's bored or annoyed of you, or it's like you don't see that in the wild. Like they might have the same manners, but like there seems to be an intellect tied to domestication, and domestication is basically stability for a species.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up the kind of like what you're saying in general, like depending on what's your priorities. If they have warmth, for most animals, like they want warmth usually. Like they have a roof, they got their shelter, whatever, they got their house, their home base, whatever that it would be. They've got that check. They don't need to move around and try to find one. But that goes in hand with their danger. Like they're pretty safe essentially. Is that point. And then for food. Yeah, it's always provided to them by the other animals that live in the house as they do. So it's like, all right, cool. I guess I don't need to just go and do what I do normally. At some point, the mind, I assume, whether it be human or animal, will think of something to do. And I mean, that's why cats are, I think, good pets in a way, because they keep their playful instinct that they have as kids, and like they kind of keep that their whole lives. Their play hunting is like it's harmless when they play, and they keep that often. Even big cats, like that are domesticated, know how to do that too. They know how to not kill and mangle their pet owners. I watch this channel Safari Sammy sometimes. The big cat's this fat chunky jaguar tank, so cute, but he's a chill dude. Yeah, he's a little chill cat. It's like a little personality, but he's fun, and like he'll claw at her sometimes, but he never like scratches her.
I've seen that girl in like a pet reserve, or it's like a wild reserve or something, where it's like former, I guess, pet cats, big cats, where she's like always like booping their nose, like it'd be a big fucking jaguar. She's like boop, and just like
that's literally who. That's Safari Sam.
Oh, I didn't know her name. Yeah,
she's got Tank. She's like she ingrates herself with all these lion
tigers and shit,
and hyenas, and even like a bear. There's a whole bunch of different whole bunch of big animals and stuff. She's like the cat queen basically with all these ones, because she'll just walk up to them and give them a belly rub, and they're just like, all right, okay.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing is like, seeing fucking people with fucking grizzlies, and he's just like sitting on a log, and the bear's there, and he's just like feeding them grapes, and it's like this big thing that like has these claws that'll just maul. You've seen The Revenant, you know what they'll do to you. They eat things while they're alive still. They don't care. They just ravage
you. They just seem to be the opposite of domesticated, but if you can seem to lull them, there's still probably points where they could try to kill you, but in terms of intelligence, what we're kind of getting to in art, I don't know, like it seems like they're more capable of like doing extra things or increasing their intelligence when they don't have to worry about getting food or getting shelter or whatever. And when they don't have to worry about that stuff, it's possible for them to do something else.
Yeah,
that's
it's
how
like,
I guess that works. But
yeah, like we have it seems like the dawn of intelligent man was when we figured out agriculture. That's basically when real religion as we think of it started. Like before, you have what's called like animism or something, like the caveman. We're kind of not sure quite what they're worshiping, if they did worship animals or sky spirits, stuff like that. But then you get like Judaism, Sumerian, their religions, the Greeks. It's like once they figured out stability, that's when like culture thrives, when art and religion thrive and complicate and expound. It's
like there could still be because of a need of something, and so they're trying to achieve something, but it seems like they're realizing, because they're thinking ahead of time, when I'm going to go out and hunt, I'm going to need to do this. Even as an animal, even if they can't articulate what they're thinking about, like, all right, well, I got to go hunt later. I can go try to take on the bear with my bare hands, and I'm going to get killed. Or I can have a sharp rock. Or, ooh, that thing's pretty sharp too. Okay, what if I stuck this sharp rock on that stick, and I am not in its claw range? Okay, like something right there is already intellectual, right? Because that's pre-battle, pre-hunting, like before you get there, it's thinking
Yeah, it's
about
premeditated murder.
somehow.
Yes.
So now I'm thinking of bear cops. They're like, so you killed that cop, you killed that bear there. You're thinking about this for a while. You got all these spears in your cave there. So no, those are just my fun ones. Oh, really? And what's that
hilarious.
blood on there? It seems to be bear blood, buddy.
I love how everything encompasses like, what if we personated this and made it a cop?
Well, because you just said premeditated murder, so it's just like, okay, now I'm thinking of the next step. Now the bears come up, knock on the cave. There you go. And the squirrel police are, the real ones you got to worry about because they take their acorns.
Speaking of squirrel, yeah. So like, they didn't say squirrels like in that class of some amount with like the root of like culture and religion and law and stuff. It was hinting at like, this is where I get like my whole like, if there is really God, if I had to be like, what is it? It's death, and we're avoiding it. Like that is the root religion of all. It's intrinsic to us. It's within our DNA. Without realizing it, like our body literally fights death. We try to survive. It's unnatural to accept death. It seems to be the root of everything. Root of like
it's partially why the Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is a surprisingly really good film.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
But like, yes, like you think about this, a squirrel, it's out in the wild, it's looking for acorns or whatever, and then it like hears like a rustle and it just freezes. And it has this idea, like when they're pretty soon after their babies, like they just intrinsically have this instinct, this knowledge of like, what is that could hurt me? I don't know what it is.
Right.
You see what I mean? Like, and that's the root of everything, and everything functions from that base instinct for all animals. Like, we
have our pre-instinct to not like things that have a bunch of arms, or legs. Like, octopus and spiders are freaky to us usually.
Yeah, and they're almost all poisonous to us. Like,
yeah.
And if you show, unless you like indoctrinate a kid kind of by culture of like, hey, here's a toy octopus. Oh, if you have a pet spider or something, just naturally you show. Like I scared a kid with, I have a toy Acklay from Star Wars, the big crab.
It's scary.
Yeah, I just left the toy on the ground, and then I like went to her, and the kid was like freaking out about it because it's a giant spider thing. Yeah, it's fucking scary, freaky, and like that's the other thing too. It's interesting. It's like I think about like, okay, obviously it makes sense to like, all right, it hurts my hand to like break your face. What if I got a stick, like 2001: Space Odyssey? Well, stick doesn't hurt my hand to hurt your face. Yeah. And then it's like, but the stick breaks after a couple people's faces. It's like, oh, but a stone. All right, what if I tie a stone into the stick and now I got a club or a hatchet?
Right. Well, even though I can hit you, you can still hit me, even though, but what if I can be further away from you and not get hit as much and hit you with my spear?
Yeah, or someone figured out somehow on accident, someone figured out, well, what if I got a stick and put a string on it to throw the spear further? Oh, the spear's pretty heavy, so I need to make it lighter. And it's like, well, the wood tip doesn't do much. What if I put a stone tip? It's like there's this weird, like, I really love thinking about the primitive man, who figured this out. What was the like workshop for this? What was the scientific method to figure out these tools? Because you look at like airplanes and people trying to make airplanes, all that funny footage of like a guy trying to like fly, basically.
Yeah, all these things.
It's like,
understand it. Yeah.
Well, he understands birds fly; they have wings, and so he's like trying to make a comparable lightweight stuff for his own body and taking off, having some sort of glide to start propelling them. So there's like a logic to what looks silly, and so it had to have happened back then, where people were like, "Oh, there's that silly Grumgus with his little rope and stick.
Grumbo.
Oh yeah, you're just not a man enough to club a mammoth to death. Gotta, you're wishful thinking, piercing it with little sticks from afar.
silly boy. Yep.
And then eventually you have an iconic photo of Joe Rogan shooting Tesla Cybertruck with an arrow. Like,
Right.
like the progression. That stuff really just randomly will come to my mind. Or like, medicine obviously is like people chewed on. Well, like it's one thing to like find mint, and it's like, all right, this is a weird weed, but then like you chew on it. Oh, it didn't kill me. Oh, my mouth feels a little tingly or cool. And then you like, oh man, this like burns. I burnt my hand on the fire. It's like, what if I put the mint on my burn? Like that makes sense. But then it's like, how did you figure out this plant is like an antibiotic? How did the Greeks figure out like mountain tea has some sort of like pain relieving measure? You know what I mean? Like the depths of old medicine where it's like, oh, mix this bit and this in water and make this like weird tea and drink it and you'll be good in a day. It's like who, or like steel or copper, bronze, like who figured out like, what if I mix these alloys?
Angus, it's so easy. It's so simple. I mean, the ancient aliens obviously
I hate that shit.
Obviously helped guide humans on their way to technology. Every single aspect of technology was just the ancient aliens. Every single tool.
It's just the Anunnaki that told the Egyptians to make a pyramid.
All they did was, so when you talked about the spear, an Anunnaki was like, bro, tie its stone to the spear. All right, what about from further away? All right, here's how you make a bow and arrow. All right, and then eventually we get to cars and shit. But they every step of the way they had to come up with something for the humans because, duh.
Yeah, like horseless carriage, the first cars, like it's a very crazy concept of like, all right, we figured out the train. Well, what if I like
when China came up with people that pushed us, they're the horse instead of the horse.
That is funny because like China was taken over by Genghis Khan, if I'm not mistaken. All right, and they are like horse lords. They're from like the Eurasian steppe. And there's been a lot of cultures come from the Eurasian steppe, but Genghis Khan among was like the biggest. And it's funny actually that you point that out, where it's like, yeah, so many Chinamen running around with like these weird carts behind them pulling people. And it's like, y'all have horses. Like horses are still a thing. On top of you have motorcycles and bicycles and shit. But you still have people pulling.
No, they have excess Chinese people, so it's like recycling. It's like recycling. They're able to save their horses for other.
That's honestly how jobs get made. Is like, oh, and I got too many of this, and this is like phased out. Where do we put these people? It's like, well, let's make up a new job. Like that does happen. There's like some guy wrote a book about useless jobs and how many useless jobs are and how many jobs are just like a waste of time. That their actual
social
workload,
media manager,
their actual workload is like 10 hours, where they work 40, and it's like the work week is mainly here to like control us and keep us in a regimen of some sort.
Yeah.
And all this stuff that becomes a wormhole of like, where did this come from? Who figured that out?
No, but so like I think about that too. Well, I mean, you think of like crows or like just birds that are pretty smart that
figure out volume.
You just what?
They figure out volume in like water.
Yeah, like it's like, but to me, it's not even like, okay, it's not even like a caveman tool thing. They're just looking at what is there, and they somehow figure it out. They might have never had a thing where this would be needed ever, but they can figure that out. And so it's kind of like, I don't know, like, did they have to see it first somewhere ever, or was this a full static? They just did it and figured out just their own thing. Like, what in their brain is making the wheels turn? Even like cats, sometimes my cat, sometimes like a long time ago, she would just jump high up wherever she needs to, jump into the windowsill, who cares? But now she's like more cautious about it. Sort of, she seems. I think I don't know if she hurt herself one time and is just not wanting to hurt herself again ever. I don't know. But so she'll always, like doing the cat math of like, all right, so you're standing next to the window. I could try to jump onto the window, or I could try to just jump onto you and get up there or something. And hopefully your dumbass will move over to where I need to go, essentially, because they want to go
this cute video of puppies.
Area.
This cute video of puppies doing that, where they have like this weird like maze contraption of like, all right, the food's on this table, but the only way to the table is if you take this certain path, but then there's all these like dummy paths. Or the dogs will just try to jump up to the table, but the table is too tall for any of them to reach the bowl. And then like someone will start figuring out the path, and maybe they look into it, and then others are like, hey, wait, okay. And then you start seeing more come. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I really get lost with wonder sometimes at stuff like that. And so I don't think of humans, like you get to humans, it's like, well, we're not special, but it seems like we just like have
we have
like
more boom. We have more of those moments that
we've had
boom,
more
click,
cumulative
click, click, click.
sparks, especially strange about humans being such a invasive animal, you could argue, is how weak we are to all of our opponents in the top of the food chain. Like, there's no reason we should be able to overcome bears. But it's only from like you literally gang banging them to death with put them in a corner, all of us throwing spears, like, oh fuck, there's more of them. Making noise to scare them, arbitrarily. We have like no claws, like we just have little nails to like pick our scabs or nose. There's nothing really like, oh god, the guy's gonna claw me to death. Like, no one's scared of that. Our bite,
most we do more damage. We can do damage to each other with these things a little bit, but not to much other things.
Yeah, like our bite. Even like
weak.
Yeah, like even if you're looking at like homo interactions of like the same species on each other for violence, like we don't compare. And I don't know. It's just I just get fascinated by that so much.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a wormhole of thought, which I think is a fun wormhole. Because then even you think about like a dolphin or even an orca. Like I love. They're so weird in how like intelligent they seem to be. There's even I just saw like a short of like a guy who just was swimming and then he just suddenly noticed there's like two orcas staring at him. And he's just like, what the fuck? Well, I think like one swam past him. Like, it's the kind of thing too, where like you're in the water, you can't hear. I mean, you can hear stuff, but like, some things are just they are right here and you don't know. And so he's like, whoa, and then it's like, oh, it's a killer whale. It's looking at you right there. These things that can hunt and kill your food, basically. Right,
like you're scared as fuck. Like, it's going to kill me. It's a giant behemoth. And then the whale's like, what the hell is that thing?
Yeah. They're just like, what are you, bro? Okay, whatever. And they just kind of leave. And like, there's only been maybe like 2 attacks in like the wild of history of orcas attacking humans. They mostly will approach you and check you out and then just get bored and leave. They're like, what are you, bro? Okay, whatever. Just get the fuck out. You're weird. You're weird fish. Okay. Or even if they know you're not a fish, because they seem to understand things can be on a surface above the water and like how they can maneuver the water to knock it over. Like, the seal's trying to run away. I love the video of the seal that gets on that boat. She's like, you got to get off the boat. No, I ain't get off the boat. I ain't get off the boat. You gotta go. You gotta go.
That's a great one.
They coming.
Like the understanding of the seal, which maybe it's been habituated to humans outside of just the fishing presence, but the fact that it knows to like, let me get on this boat, and it like seems to be aware of like, hey person, it's like, no, I'm not leaving. you see what I see. That's not happening.
Look at him. It's right there. I'm not getting in the water, idiot.
And then also the weird is like we're like Switzerland, we're the neutral party. And we're getting stuck with one of them, but then the other guy's like, all right, well, I can't mess with you, even though I'm after that guy in your area. I'll wait till he gets off, chase him again. That is a weird conundrum. Also, it seems that whales have accumulated knowledge of like whale ships and stuff. Like someone gets taken out or hurt by one, and then they kind of know new defenses against it.
Yeah.
That's strange.
Well, even like interesting. So like shipwrecks. There's like thousands and thousands of ships in the bottom of the sea, anywhere, in just different locations. And in a way, shipwrecks have become huge homes for animals, of course, down there and shit. Especially sharks. Sharks like to chill around there. But I don't know. It's just I guess I was just commenting on the like human, like, oh, it's like if people would say it's wasteful, it's like, yeah, I guess, but nature's like fucking figured a way to make use of it, so whatever. But what else?
Everyone cries about like BP spilling the oil, but it's like, at some point a fisher would have cracked in the ocean and killed all that, and no one would save any of the ducks, and then other things would eat those oily ducks and die, and then just keep, versus humans.
Oil is a nature thing, a byproduct of nature. It would just probably happen anyway. Yeah, so I don't know. But I don't know, like I was going somewhere with it. It was going to be with other intellectual animals in their situations. I was thinking of one. I forget what it was though. Now it was going to be another. I mentioned the seal and how orcas can do. It was mostly still on orcas. Is sort of when we watched that one octopus video. I mean, you guys know we watch movies often together, and we randomly watched an octopus documentary that was on, and it was like one of them had the ability to, when it sees certain other aquatic life, to try to mimic the shape and color of specific ones, like of other specific aquatic life that it knows they're afraid of. And it's like that to me is like an extra layer of some type of intellect, right?
Yeah, especially octopus are weird because most of them don't live long. Maybe the males can live for a while, but females die after a couple of years after like they breed. Which is kind of funny when you think about humans, because that was part of my class too, was like talking about like, well, what's the point of having like old women around because they can't breed? And so that's like we get like society going in some way, and so old women have use after childbirth because they can mentor. They can be healers. They can have all this knowledge.
You can give them a gun and they can shoot at somebody trying to kill them, or a dog.
Right, but it's like you think about pragmatically, like it's more so going to be like a caloric dump for the tribe to sustain an old woman that has no use of procreation. So like, what would be the use of keeping her? And so there's kind of this might be kind of a feminist, like mystic, angle scientifically, but it has merit to me of like, oh, that is an area to think about of like, what do you serve? What's your value? You think about like Walking Dead scenario, like going back to archaic times, like you're old, you're dead weight.
I was gonna say they could be not dead weight if like the mothers who give birth die giving birth, or they die pretty early after or something, and the older woman can maybe help raise the kid still.
Well, no, that's what I was getting at. And also you can still fuck old women, so there's still like the pleasure value of women, even if they're old.
Yeah. My point was going to be with the orcas. That's what I was going with. So I was going to compare them to a wolf was what I was going with. So,
they're sea wolves.
Well, yeah, but sea wolves, if you take away their arms and legs and like everything about a wolf that makes it dominant on land, and it's like, thinking about that intelligence in the water, it's like, how the hell does it get to that level like that? It's just got its fucking fins. It can't pick up nothing with that. It can't build anything.
It's stuck with just its mouth.
It's got its mouth and it's got whatever maneuverability in there, and they're able to still do quite a bit of things. Like I guess what I was trying to go with, if we could, it'd be really cool to isolate, like watching them and create some type of circumstances where they have to adapt to something and like keep on adapting to stuff and see how well they can adapt to things. Because if that's the case, how many generations maybe would it take for it to get like, how smart of killer whales would they mutate in any way, or would they stay sort of the same? And because they're in the water still, and would that be like, what would that intelligent creature be like? I just find that interesting too. And like, would they be able to build structures with what's underwater, with their fins and with their mouths or whatever? Would they be able to do anything like that? Oh, if I take these coral things over here and put this rock sediment over here and stick this gooey animal over here, instead of eating it, put it over here. What if they made little ocean farms? There are technically farms under the ocean in some areas, like literal, like, agriculture for oceans and stuff. Like maybe specific, maybe not the deep ocean, of course. I guess this would be closer to where there's still sunlight reaching in, I would think. But
well, it's funny you say it, because like this is where you like evolution, adaptation, where it's like, retarded Christians don't get like, no, the dragonfly didn't become a Komodo dragon overnight. It's like millions of years based on the environment, or just off of like sexual arousal arbitrarily. That, like, peacocks are a great example. The male peacocks, it's like a huge deficit to carry all those feathers for mating, but that is like the predominant factor to get a mate, and so it stays around.
I assume to scare predators too, in general.
Yeah, because they all look like eyes or feathers, so that does have like
they can't like fly away too easily, I assume. compared to other birds. Some
Yeah.
can fly; they're sort of flightful, but not like
Yeah, but it's
not a crow.
mostly there just for the mating factor, which mating is like once a
Yeah.
year. Or maybe for the males it's multiple female. I don't know if they're monogamous, but you're talking about like a season every year that they're mating, and the rest of the year they got to carry these heavy fucking feathers, which is a big calorie deficit. So you got to eat more just to sustain carrying these feathers.
Yeah.
It's like whales. The science so far says that like horses are related to whales, that there is some sort of start coming on land. Well, like whales have like a leg segment in their back and like their hip,
Right.
so they used to have more flippers.
Well, like the way that I remember it was like, there was different levels of evolution where things went onto the land, into the sea, onto the land, into the sea, and like that's why they have some bone structures that could have been for legs, but they turned to fins or something else or whatever. They have like similar. There's some earlier points where they could have been something else, and they
it's like
aren't anymore. Kind of like how we have a tailbone, but it's not for a tail anymore. Or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you used to be in trees, so you have to balance.
Yeah.
But
it's like I'm picturing a killer whale farmer, like with a farmer hat and overalls underwater.
Well, at some point
you're gonna work for farm,
But at some point, it could turn where it's like the ocean's shrinking for some reason, maybe because of like ice age or something, or like a major weird drought that just evaporates a lot of the water. So they have to be, they'd start like weird little details that would like suit them being able to like traverse the beach more. That they would just be surviving more than the straight aquatic, so then they would be the ones mating, so those factors would start promulgating, and then they might start expounding, because then you might like, he has some of his like finger bones in his fins actually extended past the fin.
Or if there's food that comes near the shore, and we've seen this where animals will beach themselves, but if they figure out ways to like, okay, I can go at this speed at this angle and get it and still bring it back, and they can go further out, the better they get at this technique, can go further out. Or if they get stuck out there, they find a way to shimmy back.
I was thinking that, I was laughing in my head because of like they have to like honestly, if you're personifying it, the whale's probably
but so I actually didn't understand it, but like apparently it's because like the gravity, when you're in the water you're technically lighter, but you're getting a different amount of pressure on you when you're down there, and then when you come up, it's just like everything. The pressure is weird. The pressure is weird and different, and not at all what their body's acclimated to.
I feel like if there's like a weird like, because they're like, oh, you're so smart, Wills. Well, how do you deal with boiling oceans? And it's like they have to like slim down. So now like all these blubbery whales have like 6-packs.
And now I'm picturing I'm picturing a killer whale lifting dumbbells and stuff, smoking a cigar underwater, and being like more like Landy.
What?
SpongeBob, Sandy, and the episode where they were like, stupid air breathers. More like Landy.
I don't remember that one. That's good.
that was one. Mr. Krabs gives SpongeBob a drink of water, but it's just a glass. He's like, glug, glug, nothing comes out of it. He's like, thanks, Mr. Krabs, because they're underwater already. So who cares?
I love when they do little drinking water gags for SpongeBob.
Yeah, but yeah, just like that. That'd be interesting. Orcas seem like that'd be really interesting to see, like their evolutionary path. If we can just look at them and what they do. Well, sharks, have some interesting stuff. They haven't changed too much over the millions of years.
Smaller.
But the Greenland sharks, like with how old they can be, that's really interesting for this type of animal to live for so long. Because there's like the oldest animal on the planet, I think, is a Greenland shark. It's like almost 400 years old. It's like 396 currently, and it's like, what the effing fuck? It's just and it gets like a weird parasite on its eyeball, and so it's blind, but it still can just chill and eat. And it only has sex like every 150 years. What is this shit? How did nature come up with this guy? what is that? And it doesn't seem to have any predators really. It's just like, yeah, just chilling down here, bro. People thought that was the megalodon for the longest time, Greenland sharks. But they're like the most chill shark ever. That won't really eat you. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
no,
interesting stuff.
The Galapagos. You would think like, oh, something really smart or very advantageous, like a tiger. It's pretty smart. A monkey. You'd think that something like that would live for hundreds of years because of smart. So it's like, no, just a stupid fish that just wants. It's like it's just got a very muted appetite because it just burns nothing because it's in the ocean with all its fat on it. So just coasts all the time.
Yeah. Or even the really big whales that just eat little tiny micro shit. What? that seems illogical. It's like seeing a fat guy. And it's
giant.
Like, here's your carrots. It's like, no, he'd be having like apples and pork and meat and potatoes, and he can't suffice him with just carrots. No.
Yeah, no, those are interesting. That's where you get stuff like Galactus, where he's like eats planets. He's just like this giant entity in space. It's like, oh, I'm hungry now. I need a planet.
Well, again, birds, like, thinking about how they, or the first animal to fly, whatever thing first started to fly, that
probably bugs.
Fly. It's just like, yeah, but I guess I'm saying like from an animal, I guess, like that.
Oh,
that couldn't fly, and then they adapted to fly.
That's just weird about like some of these
further or something.
Some of these weird gliders, like in China, there's like subvariants of this one type of glider, and it's like, where did that come from? Where, like, what was the advantageousness of like the squirrel thing, and then it's got like saggy skin between its arm and legs.
Yeah,
and it's like, and then someone's like, "Ooh, that's really hot." Like, talking about like part of it promulgating his sexual attraction. So it's like, ooh, he's got like such big arm flaps. That's so hot.
Right. Well, it's interesting. So like, I wish that people that would make alien creatures in movies would think more like this when they create them, and so that when you see them, you kind of have questions answered for you in a way with what they're doing, which is why, like, when I was trying to create alien stuff in high school, as dumb as it would sound, like, I started in certain areas and made different changes based on other animals that were there. Like, I was like, all right, there's this little thing called the squuff. That was like one of the first ones I came up with, little tiny puffball. I was thinking of like a Pokemon, and then like changing it around a bit. And it's like, okay, it doesn't have any limbs. It's just got its little body and a head and a long little mouth. Like I was imagining like a shrunken emu or something. Like, but take off its legs, take off its wings. It's just a little thing. What does it do? Well, it pulls itself forward with its mouth. And I was like, well, how does it eat? All right, there's this other animal that it follows. And I was thinking of a cow. And it's like, okay, well, what if for some reason it had to move its udders from under itself, and like like by its tail or something, it merges with the tail in the future. So the udders are on the back end of the tail or something that can move it higher up. So I know animals aren't mooching.
I think you'd really like Alien Covenant.
It's
at
just
least,
like, I don't know. Just thinking about it like that.
At least for this one thing, it's an Alien Covenant. You see David's like workshop, his like scientific workshop, his research that he's like, like people like pin the bugs to like boards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like stuff like that, but all these weird creations off of the ecology of the planet.
Right.
And it's
yeah,
like,
that'd be interesting. Yeah. And then I had it be the final design of the thing was where its tail is just like kind of drags on the ground because it doesn't actually it doesn't have use for that type of udder anymore or something. So it'll slightly lactate here and there, and that's how the squuff gets its food. By following the thing and following that animal where it has the thing where it does that, and it's like, okay.
Rookie's first creation was a deformed cow with a parasite.
Well, that wasn't my first creation. It was one of my first. My first one was called a tentacloid, is what I called it, and I thought of a UFO. And then created like little tentacles off of it. And then I was like, oh, the lights are eyeballs. Okay, the top pops off like a parachute, and it can. It's some weird
like
shit.
War of the Worlds shit.
When I was thinking of that one, I wasn't thinking of its function in the environment. I was just like, what's anything? The other ones, I was thinking more of like what would exist here and how or why and whatnot. But yeah.
Yeah.
And people are probably like, how is this Grifter on Grifter anything?
Well, like
every time we
that's
tune
why
in here, you guys are talking about God or animals and shit.
it's like
I don't know. Just ends up going there. It's more interesting.
I like having like a Rogan format. Like Rogan works. Not that I'll ever be big like Rogan, but his format works because it's random. Like he had Russell Crowe on Gladiator. He won the Oscar for Gladiator. You know, you think that'd be like?
I was thinking of Russell Brand for a second. I was like, he's not Gladiator.
Like you'd think that would be like one of the knee jerk like that, or like Nice Guys with Ryan Gosling, because Ryan Gosling's been big lately with Barbie and shit and Blade Runner memes. No, he's talking about like, oh yeah, I cook a steak and stuff. It's like, oh, how do you cook it? And then it's like talking about like, oh, well, you know, I raise my own cows, so I have like a farm, like 200 acres and this and that. And they're talking about like farming and shit and learning and his origin of learning. It's like, well, like, what? How'd you get into acting if like this is your background? And it's like, oh, well, you know, I just like was a DJ and I sucked, but then they like called me back when the guy quit. And it's kind of crazy hearing like, but they all kind of fell in this on accident. It was no real like goal with like the talk. And
I feel like that's how a good interview could go, where you don't intend to go down a route, but you end up going down a route of their history.
Yeah, Trevor. Oh, dude, I didn't notice, but Trevor Moore from Why Could You Know was on Rogan long ago. Oh. And it's a really funny interview because he's talking about conspiracy theories, and he's like, dude, I'm always like, my free time, I'm always on these like conspiracy boards. He's like, my favorite one is that they think Lady Gaga, this is back in like 2015.
Was a lizard person.
No, I was thinking it's gonna be like Lady Gaga's trans. That was the thing when I was a kid. It was like, oh, it's a man.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's pretty hot. So that's probably one of the little like subconscious nuggets that made me like, trannies. But no, the thing was that Lady Gaga is actually John Benet Ramsey, the murdered child beauty pageant girl from like Colorado or whatever. That was one. That was like his favorite conspiracy, and he's talking about some other shit, and it was just like very interesting. It was like very random, you know. And then like you listen to like Mike Tyson interview with Joe Rogan, you think he's gonna be talking a lot about boxing. He's like a good like hour of it's talking about like owning tigers and like what do you have to do to own a tiger. And he starts talking about like Alexander the Great. And, like Mike Tyson is fucking boxing retard with the lisp, and it was all this shit about Alexander the Great. That might have been another thing that reinforced me to start studying Alexander and the Greeks was that conversation.
I was gonna say it's kind of funny, just when you mentioned that even Tyson does. It like makes me think how in our society, like going back 20 years, post Rome and post World War II, the two biggest things that get brought up in history, I'd say the two biggest like wartime things is Rome and World War II. Like, but not really World War II as a whole, like Nazis specifically.
Yeah, but
like more, and it's like I feel like there's something to that in a way, but also it might be just more to Rome because of they could have taken inspiration from Rome, in that kind of way. So
yeah, because like the root of Western society is Greece, but strangely enough, Greece actually Greece was never an empire. It was Macedon through Alexander. He took over Greece. So we call it all Greece, but Macedon is like distinct. It's like Germany and France. Like they hated each other. Well, really the Greeks hated them. And also it might have been because Macedon was kind of like a lackey to Persia because they never really stabilized properly. And Athens also interfered, from what I know, a lot with like their economy and shit. So I don't know why people revere Athens, because they were like very much like a parasite, always like fucking everybody over for their empire, and they acted like they were so mighty with their values of democracy, but it's just a way to manipulate the masses.
Well, they've got potters.
Well, it's funny because it's like, it's very much like America. We act like we're so noble, but then we're for democracy shit, but then we create all these fucking coups and shithole countries to keep them destabilized so they can't compete with us because they have the resources that we're pillaging from them.
Right.
And it's just like,
can we borrow that? Yeah, you guys fight each other. We'll borrow that. Yeah.
The dichotomy of like our self-proclaimed nobility, and yet we're like fucking vultures. It's funny. It's like the eagle very much is a great symbol for America, because the eagles actually, most of their diet is like they're vultures. They're not really noble creatures. They're fucking scavengers.
They don't go, I will challenge you one-on-one, prey, and then who wins will become the victor.
No, eagles are
I'm going to get you.
Eagles are very epic animals, but they're also fucking like roaches.
Yeah, they look cool. So fuck
they do look.
yeah, that's the
any bird of prey, falcon, eagle, like just have a fucking cool look.
Honestly, so like I feel like a lot of birds like that or normal birds, they all look normal birds, whatever. Any birds that are like tall though, like I feel like in a way are freaky.
They look stupid because like a lot of times ostrich just has his mouth open. It's like, huh?
Well, yeah, but it's like imagine if you were just like walking around and then you like see one 10 feet away from you. Like I imagine if fear is gonna be in your mind, like even like if you're just walking around the street and it's like, oh, there's a fucking big old bird right there.
Right, it's fucking because it
even
has
if it's even if it's like a peacock, I feel like that initially it'd at least be like, whoa, there's a fucking big bird right there. What's it gonna do?
Birds are stupid mostly. Like they're pretty dumb. They have almost no brain, and then they have like some sort of like mean beak or talons, like especially like an emu and an ostrich. Things can kill you.
Yeah,
but
there's another Australia cassowary or whatever. It's like the most violent bird ever.
That's one's a weird bellow, right?
Yeah, I think
like
so. No, that's a shoebill. I'm thinking of shoebill.
I'm trying to think of what the fucking the big like it looks like a big like fluffy mop.
The big pterodactyl. Is that what you're thinking of? Basically, the like shoebill.
Got like the crest.
It's got the look pretty much of like I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, you've seen that
that's
girl.
A shoebill.
You seen that girl with the like she's got the pet one on like a farm. She got like deers and stuff. And she's always trying to do videos, and the bird's always like looking into the camera. She's like, "No, get out! No!" Ah.
Let me look up a picture here. I'm gonna see if this is the one you're thinking of. Here,
birds are stupid. Summer swan.
Well, it's like like crows and parrots and stuff.
There's some smart exceptions. No, I'm not thinking of that at all.
What you're thinking of? That's a shoebill.
They're not that tall though, right?
They're kind of
like I'm thinking about tall. I'm thinking of like as tall as a person or bigger.
Cassowary. I don't know.
Just try it and it'll autocorrect.
What?
I said just try to type it and it'll correct it, and you click the right.
I have no idea how to spell it. Cassowary bird.
Summer Swan's like screaming it in the chat.
Sorry.
Cassowary!
I can't tell from that. Jeez. Let's see. Okay, yeah, these dudes.
That's the most dangerous bird?
No, most violent, I would say.
Look up
Not
emu.
Dangerous.
Emu's the brown one, right?
Emu should be, yeah.
Yeah, that girl with the emu, and he's always like getting in the camera and looking at it. It's like he's always surprised. You're stupid. No wonder Big Bird looks like that. It looks like a fucking retard. Yeah, all the corvids, all this one type of bird happen to be smart. Thank you. Yeah, most birds are stupid.
That is not at all how I would think to spell cassowary. Oh my god.
Cassowary.
It does sound Australian though. Cassowary.
Huh. Interesting. All right, ready to get off? Maybe watch Harry Potter.
Yeah, we're just like kind of just going off on animals.
No, this is fine. This is how we talk. Stream, so this is great. I mean, yeah, we're pretty real on camera. Just don't say like the N-word as much.
We did say dark black. You know, that was fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, I brought it up. I'm the black guy, so you have the N. It's like, well, he said it. Now I can comment on the topic. That's how that works. You just got to have. It's like that rapper that hired a black guy to say the N-word in his music. That's how you have to think about your black friends.
Of course.
Missing link Sturgis. No, we didn't talk. You know, I keep forgetting to meme Sturgis because I've called him a terrorist. That his father's Osama bin Laden, and I keep meaning to meme him looking like mad or sad on camera with like a hand holding a pager. It's like, has anyone heard from Sturgis lately?
Missing persons I'd have him on a milk jar.
Have you seen this terrorist? He's been missing for 5 days. Last seen in Gaza. All right. Thank you all for hanging out with us. Farewell. See you. I think I'm switching to nights next week, if I'm not mistaken. So I might work on Thursday night, so we'll figure out when I'm streaming again. But farewell.